Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. As you see, Lonely 2. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak, and to my left, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cottrell.
Gene, this is a show that's been 207 episodes in the making, you know?
Yeah, man. Listen, we've never had a show without Shally, but Shally, don't have no fear. Shally fans, scholastic Shally fans. Shally will be here 15, 20 minutes. He is down in Florida playing at Worlds. Make sure you cheer on Rake. They're going to go at it tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Hopefully they win. But he'll be joining in shortly. Should be a fired up show. We got a lot to get into. NFL, NCAA, MLB, WNBA action. And then as usual, you got to be kidding me. But we got a lot to start with. We got a lot to get into. How you feeling tonight, Cottrell?
Feeling good, man. You know, we got the football season full swing. Weather starting to finally break a little bit over here in the Midwest in Ohio. So I'm excited. You know, feels like basketball is right around the corner too. So I'm looking forward to tonight's show. We got a lot to cover.
Yo, we have a lot to cover, and we got to talk about a lot of NFL football. There'll be no trivia this week. Shally's supposed to give the trivia question. He's not going to be here. Wait, is it your trivia question this week?
It is, yeah.
All right, but that's all right. Shally's not ready for it. He doesn't want the smoke. I'm on too big of a run. He didn't want it. We're going to pause it till next week, and that's fair. But we got a lot to get into. Let's start. Now, I want to ask you a question. And tell me, and I want you to tell me that I'm being a baby. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear, Gene, you're being a baby. Stop crying, whatever. I'm not trying to be rude when I say this, but it might be tougher to watch an Eagles win than it was to watch a Browns loss. And, I mean that in a sense that, bro, it is so painful watching the coaching decisions made, watching us dominate a team utterly up and down the field. I think we outgained them by 230 yards. It was insane. Yet passing up on 3 points, passing up on 3 points, passing up on 3 points. And then, you know what? Let's try to kick a 60-yard field goal. Whatever. Let's go for it. 60 yards. Made no goddamn sense to me. Nick Sirianni is an absolute lunatic. Then you see, and listen, you can call me a baby. That's fine. You're going to see the dirtiest cheap shot team in the NFL, the rat New Orleans Saints. I got a list, right? Here's the list. Here's the order on my list of MCs. It goes, Reggie. No, but here's the list of the teams I hate. It goes Cowboys, Giants, Saints. I don't even hate the Commanders the way I hate the Saints. They're lucky they're not in my division because I'd hate them more than the Cowboys. Bunch of rat, scumbag dirtballs making a dirty, dirty play at Devontae Smith. Thankfully, Saquon Barkley came to the rescue. Big touchdown run. And then on a 3rd and 16, Jahan Dotson had those dummies running into each other with Dallas Goedert across the middle. You got to hear the mic'd up. I don't know if you heard the mic'd up, but Jordan Mailata. It's so funny. Jordan Mailata is on the mic'd up. He's like, run, take the refrigerator off your back. It's so funny. He's like, go, you slow bastards. But the Eagles end up pulling out with a win. And then after the game, you see a little bit more antics. Jalen Carter on the sidelines. CJ Gardner-Johnson on Twitter. Him and Micah Parsons going at it. It's painful to watch. And my friend sent me a graph. Friend sent me a graph. I'd like to share it with you guys. I don't have it set. But it's like, it's like this slither. It's like a pie. It's like this small slither. It goes, hey, I'm excited. My team's about to play. Then there's this huge chunk of the pie. I want to hurt myself. And then the small, oh, great, we won. Awesome. Because it's painful watching the Philadelphia Eagles play football. Now, I guess as a Browns fan losing at home to the Giants, you might be telling me I'm a baby. And that's fine. I'm all ears for it. I'm all ears for it. You tell me where I'm wrong.
I mean, listen, I get it. Trust me. I definitely understand. You know, it feels like you're in full control of a game, and then you are in a position where you seemingly should lose it. Because, I mean, I understand the Eagles went down, they scored, but it's essentially everything was against you late. You bring up the 3rd and 16. If Saquon doesn't break out that 65-yard run, who knows where that game ends up. Does Sirianni take the points? Does he try to win it to not go to overtime? Like, who knows what ultimately ends up going on in that game there. But as far as like the Browns side of things, I mean, coming out and making Daniel Jones look like he should be in the running for MVP is absolutely insane. You have Malik Neighbors going absolutely berserk on the Cleveland defense. And this is a defense who last year in the league was top 5, in total defense. And they come out in that game against Daniel Jones and a bunch of Malik Neighbors and a bunch of nobodies and just look completely defeated, lack of effort. I will give them credit. Jim Schwartz made his adjustment in the second half. Giants didn't score at all in that second half, but you cannot lose games like that against the Giants, especially in the kind of division that you're in. Now, granted, a lot of the teams in the outside of the Steelers, everyone in that division is underperforming.
Bro, I did not have the Steelers being 2 games up in the division after week 3 on my bingo card. I did not
exactly. Like, so when that's the case there, and I, like I said, I know these teams are underperforming at the moment. This isn't going to always stay that game. Just because the Bengals are 0-3 right now, then that's not going to be a slouch game that you can just make up at the end of the year. Or the Ravens being 1-2 right now, you can't just make that up at the end of the season. Games against teams like the Giants, you have to find ways to win that game. And you're looking at it, it's like, all right, you lose to the Cowboys. I was upset. I didn't want the game to look like that, but it's like, hey, the Cowboys are probably going to be a playoff team. The Cowboys are at least a good team in a sense. And then you go out and have that performance against the Giants. You were supposed to have a stretch where you had the Jaguars, the Giants, the Raiders, and the Commanders. That was supposed to be like, all right, we give ourselves some breathing room. So if things get rocky, we'll be good to go moving forward. Like we got a couple games where we can falter here and there, where it's those like, tweener kind of games. But now you lose to the Giants, and it's like, all right, well, games are starting to become must-win games. And, we're going to talk about that in probably some of the games that we preview here. Browns have put themselves in a position where we're talking week 4. It is a must-win. Now, granted, another one of the teams talked about, the Cowboys, they're also in that position where this upcoming week against the Giants Thursday night, it's going to be a must-win. I know we won't preview that game. There's other teams around the league, the Bengals as well, losing at home to the Washington, must-win situation
at home to Washington and New England, bro. They have 2 games on their schedule that you wrote off as W's when that schedule came out, and they are 0-2 in those football games. Look, you lose that Kansas City week 2, no one's complaining.
Nope. Like, and you really should have won, but no one's complaining if you lose that game.
I'll say this, right? There's 2 teams that have absolutely surprised me this year, and the Steelers aren't one of them. They're surprising, but they didn't absolutely surprise me the way they played.
I know one of them.
One of them's the Minnesota Vikings.
I was going to say it has to be Minnesota.
They win 34-7 at home versus the Texans. Sam Darnold looking like Joe Montana, like looking incredible. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Who is this guy? Is he really Steve Young? I don't know. I'm kidding, but like, wow, Minnesota looks great. And I'll say this. Here's what I'll say. Brian Flores needs a head coaching job.
Well, yeah.
If it wasn't evident, bro, I'm not trying to be control. You're an NFL football guy, right? You've been a football guy. I mean, you're more of a college guy than an NFL guy, but you're an NFL guy. You know the NFL very well, more than the average listener, right?
For sure.
Name me 3 players on their defense.
I mean, it's definitely going to be tough.
And that's the point, right? Like, but without looking at their depth chart, I know like Stephon Gilmore got signed there, Harrison was in there. Yeah, Ivan Pace, good ball player, Byron Murphy. I remember when he got drafted. But like, I can't name you 100 more people on that team. I can't do that. But here comes Brian Flores and crafting a defense to make the Minnesota Vikings look great. And in the offense, man, Sam Darnold, give them all the credit in the world. They look great offensively. Aaron Jones looks good. Jettas looks good. Give credit where credit's due. They're having a great season. But the second team I want to bring up is in that same division. And they're not 3-0. If you had on your bingo card, Malik Willis would be 2-0 as a starter. I didn't have that. I got to give Green Bay credit. They lose their starting quarterback after losing a tough game in Brazil. Tough game in Brazil. They played on paint. I don't think one team was better than the other leaving that field. They played on a different surface. If they play again, I don't know who wins. They go home and they win 2 games with Malik Willis without their starting quarterback. Looks like they're going to get Jordan Love back this week, and they're playing each other. Green Bay, Minnesota. How about that for a football game? Jordan Love might be returning. 3-0, Sam Darnold. Where are you at with that football game?
I mean, I think, in a game like this where Jordan Love, if he does play, which it does trend like he's going to, because, he was even game time going into last week. So I'd imagine that he plays this week. I don't think that's a good spot for him to return with the way that Brian Flores has been anchoring that Minnesota defense. Dallas Turner is going to be screaming off the edge, attacking the quarterback, and they've been playing pretty well in the secondary as well. So I feel like Green Bay is you don't want the division essentially to get away from you with the Lions having success and, obviously the Vikings having success and even the Bears. Like, I know they're 1-2 right now, but like that's a team that you imagine that they're going to figure it out at some point. That's a team that me and you both had going to the playoffs this year. So I understand why you don't have the luxury of just like letting Jordan just sit and wait for him to come back. I do think this is going to be a bad spot for him, just with the way the Vikings defense has been running around so far throughout the beginning of this season. So I actually lean the Vikings in this one, but I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as like we've seen in games past. Like, I think that the Packers defense will come to play. You'll start to see Sam Darnold look just a tiny bit more human. I don't think you're going to see the 4 touchdowns, no interception kind of performance again from him, or his continued MVP pace that he's on right now. I think you see all that slow down. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle, but I lean the Vikings way because Brian Flores has been a class of his own as a D coordinator this year.
That's facts. And I do want to add on to something else about last week, right? So you look at what happened in Carolina, and so many people, me being one of them, absolutely blasting the Carolina Panthers franchise for the treatment of Bryce Young. Andy Dalton comes in, goes into Las Vegas, coming off a huge win at Baltimore. And Andy Dalton and Carolina dominate the football game. Antonio Pierce goes into press conference talking about people making business decisions, quitting in the fourth quarter. Carolina, now is it really just Bryce Young is just a dud? Is he an egg? Like, do you think he'll ever be successful in the NFL? Do you think his confidence is shattered? Do you think the Carolina Panthers have ruined him? Because Andy Dalton made that offense look efficient. Now, granted, that head coach has a history of revitalizing giving up on quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. That's what he comes from. Could Andy Dalton be his latest revitalization project?
I don't think so. I think this is more so just going to be a fill-in for the time being. I think you're going to see Andy Dalton have command of that offense, and I think it was still fair for us to criticize that Panthers organization. Again, this isn't something that just happened overnight. I'm sure Andy Dalton had been commanding that offense during the preseason, during training camp, all this. Like, they didn't just overnight say, hey, maybe we'll be better with Andy Dalton. At some point, there were people in that room and people on that front office staff that were like, hey, Andy Dalton has been the better quarterback. We should probably be playing him and let Bryce learn and, just value this experience. And they've come out and said that, hey, but we still think Bryce can be the future of our team. I don't know if I believe that, but they said we still think Bryce can be the future of our team. It's just that he's still learning the system right now and he's not ready to go. So I think Andy Dalton as is right now, just with his age, things like that, I don't think this is going to be the real revitalization that you say that you've seen. Because you got to remember, players like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, like all those guys are still in their 20s here. Andy Dalton's had a long career as being the Bengals quarterback, and he's been floating around NFL as a backup these past few years as well. So I think Andy is good for where they're at right now, a good bridge guy while things really aren't in place around you. But Bryce Young's confidence shouldn't be shot because you see with Malik Willis, with Baker Mayfield again, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. Like there's so many quarterbacks around the league where all it takes, Justin Fields being another one, all it takes is you getting to the right coach that believes in you to really showcase your talent and let that work.
Remember what I told you? I said this 2 years ago. People don't listen to me. You have to marry the coach to the quarterback. The system and the coach and the quarterback have to go together. Canales came over there and goes, I have a system. We're going to run my system. And that is what it is. And right now, Andy Dalton, being the pro that he is, can run it better than Bryce Young. But we'll see how that goes going forward. I do want to kind of acknowledge something else. And I want to ask you a question. You were really high. We talk about overreactions, right? You were really high on Caleb Williams. You've been very high on Caleb Williams. You had him in your top 10 quarterbacks. I don't know if this is an Eberflus thing. I don't know if this is an OC thing. But I don't imagine going into Indianapolis, who was 31st in the NFL against the run, and him throwing the ball 52 times was on the bingo card going into that game. I don't think that was what they were intending to do. And if they were, someone needs to be fired. But my question that I kind of want to ask is it too early to call another CJ Stroud, Bryce Young with Jaden Daniels putting the performance that he put up on Monday Night Football for the Commanders? I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, say what you want about him. I'm not a fan of him, never been a fan of him, but he has a history of taking mobile quarterbacks and developing systems for him. Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, that's who he's had. Jaden Daniels looked great Monday night. I can't even say Burrow was the issue Monday. He wasn't. The Bengals offense looked fine. They put up 33 points. On the other hand, they couldn't stop a leaky faucet. That Washington Commanders team ran all over him. Is it too early to think Jaden Daniels might have a leg up on Caleb Williams?
I think it is too early to say he has a full leg up. But with that said, though, I mean, I think it's fair to say he has a leg up in terms of like the rookie of the year race. I think that's fair to say. The first week of the season, and granted, Caleb hasn't been great at like there hasn't been one game so far where it's like, hey, this is Caleb's coming out party. But even with that said, I mean, in the game against the Colts, I know they lost. He had a ton of yards. I know he threw the ball 50 times, but 300 plus yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, and one of them was really bad. But I think Caleb is talent wise. I think he just needs to get a rhythm. It's like he hasn't found his groove in the NFL yet. Obviously, we know the special kind of plays that he made in college, and the Bears offensive line isn't built to hold up like that. Like when plays break down and things like that, you're not going to get that kind of time that you got in the Pac-12 because you got 4 defensive linemen that are going to be chasing after you, making plays and things like that. So
their play calling in Chicago was brutal. That
it has
option
been,
they ran on 4th and goal. What the hell was that?
Linemen on the ground.
4 linemen on, not 1, not 2. I felt like I was LeBron in Miami. Not 1, not 2, not 3. They had 4 linemen on the ground.
Exactly. And I think
what the hell was that?
So you mix that kind of offensive line play also with not having Keenan Allen the past 2 weeks. And I get it. They do have other weapons, but Keenan Allen not being there, DeAndre Swift hasn't looked like the same running back that he was in Philadelphia either. So you don't have a consistent run game there. I think that just puts more pressure on a rookie quarterback. Jaden Daniels is in a good position because he has the ability to run. And when things are tough for him, he doesn't have to make reads on 3rd and 3. They're going to probably roll him out in a bootleg. If it's not there, Cliff's telling him, hey, go get the first down with your legs. Now, obviously, you want him to take less hits than he has been so far this season, but he's done a great job of utilizing his skill set. And Cliff's done a great job of using his skill set to put him in a position to be successful.
I'll say this. I said before the season, it's the one thing that is aging like wine for me. I said before the season that Josh Allen is going to have an MVP-like season. I said him spreading the ball around and not forcing the ball to Stephon Diggs with that Joe Brady system is going to allow him to really open up this offense. Monday Night Football was a perfect display of that. Now, granted,
weird though. I mean, he's definitely been like spreading out the offense, like spreading out the ball and things like that. But it's almost like getting rid of Stephon Diggs has opened up their rushing attack more.
Yeah.
Like Josh Allen is obviously always been a great runner of the football, but like James Cook, or even just getting like guys like Curtis Samuel or Shakir out on screens and things like that, like it's a completely different looking offense. And it's not even just them throwing the ball. Like the entire offense looks so much more like cohesive.
They look efficient. On the other hand, Jacksonville looks, they look terrible. They couldn't stop a cold on Monday night. Look, I've been Trevor Lawrence's biggest supporter. Something's got to change. You can't get paid top quarterback money and put up 10 points. Just can't do it. Can't be 0-3. Can't lose all 3 of those football games. That's all there is to it. Things have got to change. They got to change this week. Doug Peterson wasn't bro. By the way, if they benched him going into week 4, that might be the worst. Like that organization, they might crumble because they just gave this man the highest contract in NFL history. And Doug Peterson wasn't like, he's my starter. So, well, things have got to change everywhere. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence is going to play this week, but like, you kind of feel like that leash is getting a little shorter, right? Like, am I the only one that feels that way?
I mean, for sure. I mean, I think Doug Peterson realizes as well, like this could be the second place that I'm essentially getting fired from because
he's definitely fired.
Exactly. So I think if you start to win games and you make it a point where it's like, hey, I'm winning, you can't necessarily fire me, then that's one thing. I think that's maybe what he's trying to do, or just regalvanize the locker room and get the players back on his side. But Trevor Lawrence is, like you just said, one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. They are going to cut ties with Doug before they cut ties with Trevor, just the way the money looks. Even if they think that, hey, Doug could be the guy with a different quarterback, it just won't work that way in the league right now. Trevor's just getting paid way too much money for them.
I'm going to tell you something right now. And listen, this is not an excuse for Trevor Lawrence, because at this point in your career, you should be able to run an offense without, Press Taylor's got to go, dude. He is so bad. He was bad in Philadelphia. He was bad in Indianapolis. He's bad in Jacksonville. He's got to go. Press Taylor and Doug Peterson and Frank Wright do not learn from what their failed mistakes have been. Press Taylor has followed around 3 fired coaches. He was with Doug in Philadelphia. He was with Frank in Indianapolis, and he's about to be again with Doug in Jacksonville. I don't know if he's got pictures on someone, but Press Taylor's got to go. And without further ado, I got to just welcome him in. I hope he's ready, but he's coming in. He's live from Orlando, Florida. Look at this guy. The hat, there's no lighting. He's in a bedroom. Look at him. He's rocking and rolling. Scholastic Shally is here.
What's popping, boys?
You got
into the shadows.
You got some prime glasses on the hat? What you got going on, Bill?
No. Hell no. They are blenders, though.
Old Skipper. I like the Skipper hat.
Bucket hat. Billy's here. What's going on, boys?
What's happening? We're just we were breaking down last week's game. I do want to ask you one question before we preview the NFL.
I thought we were talking about how overrated Trevor Lawrence was, but I could be mistaken.
We were. Hey, listen, hold on. Just to be very clear, you were on the same ledge I was when he came out. Generational talent, right?
You're not wrong.
Okay, so but we were. He has to win more football games. But what I'll say is this: Press Taylor is terrible. He is awful.
I think you put someone on Press. I don't disagree. I don't think he's playing well right now either, though.
He's not.
You look at where he was when he was pretty much a drive away from knocking Kansas City out of the playoffs in Kansas City. And we talked about it last year. Like, we joked about it, but like kind of got in silly arguments about it. But also, like we all agreed at the end of the year last year, like he regressed a little bit last year, and he's not playing any better this year. So, I don't disagree. I think some of it is Press. I think Press is gets a little bit too much credit for certain things that have happened in other cities. But I don't know if Dougie P is the problem either. I mean, you look at what Dougie P did, even with Carson in 19 after Reich and all those guys were gone. And I just think there's a disconnect somewhere.
100%. But I do want to ask you one question, because I asked Cottrell and we talked about this for a second. Outside of Minnesota, Who has been the biggest surprise for you to start the NFL season? What team 3 weeks in?
As in like a good or a bad?
Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter.
Ugly?
I mean, ugly Cincinnati. That team should not be where they are. I think Minnesota. I think you have to give Green Bay credit. Winning 2 weeks in a row with Malik Willis. Trying to think. I have to be honest. I wasn't as high on Chicago as both you guys is making the playoffs, and I knew there was going to be growing pains with Caleb, obviously being a rookie, a true rookie. But I thought they'd be a little bit better than they were. And if on the flip of the flip side of that coin, I've been extremely impressed with Jaden Daniels in Washington. So that would be my list for me.
It's funny we talked about Jaden.
I was going to say it's almost like Bill watched Wire2Wire the last 20 minutes.
I promise you, I did not. I wish I was. I was trying to get set up so I could get on the damn show. So
appreciate you, brother. Most committed man in the industry.
The streak continues.
Streak continues. 207 shows.
Guys, got a relief appearance.
We're going to preview some football games this week. We're going to start with Philadelphia versus Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay this week. Already made mention of the dirty, disgusting piece of garbage Saints that the Eagles played last week with the dirty hits. I was furious. It looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go into this game without A.J. Brown, without Devontae Smith. They're headed into the bye. They're hobbling into the football game. I don't want to say it this way. The defense looked great. Fangio looked good. I don't know if Philadelphia can win this football game. They're 2-point favorites, but I'm picking Tampa Bay in this. Jalen Hurts is 1-3 against Todd Bowles. The first game he played against him, he only blitzed him 11 times. Since then, he's blitzed him on 70% of downs or more. He dials up the blitzes from the right side, makes Jalen roll left. Jalen still has turnover issues. Nick still has taken 3 issues. I'm sorry. Going 2-2 into the bye, getting your team healthy back, and playing a very wounded Cleveland Browns team coming off 3 straight road games because they have a road game this week, a road game next week, will be the end of a 3-game road trip. I think that's where we kind of headed into their season, 2-2. I have the Eagles losing this football game. I have Tampa Bay winning it, and I don't think it'll be as dominant as last year's playoffs, but I think it'll be low scoring. I think it's 21-13.
I think it's going to be low scoring because I think, to your point, I think the Eagles defense kind of found their identity a little bit. I think, Vic's calls last week, I think, kind of got some guys on the same page finally. Mitchell, again, shows you glimpses of what he's going to be in another year or two, and he's going to be an exemplary cornerback in the NFL. And he's still making rookie mistakes where he kind of gets lost underneath sometimes or goes in the wrong place on his own. But that's all stuff that's part of the learning curve starting as a true rookie in the NFL. But him in man coverage, you've seen absolutely why he jumped up boards, prior to the draft. The only reason I'm going to say the Eagles have a shot here is I agree with you. I don't think Devonta plays. I think they just keep him out an extra week. Like you said, go into the bye week, come out, have him and AJ both healthy. Tampa Bay is also missing half their defense to injury as well. So they got an absolute thumping put on them by Denver last week in Tampa Bay. So I don't think this is probably going to be much of an exciting game. This just screams like 19-13 to me or something like that. Very similar to the Eagles game last week. But I won't be surprised either way, which way, they come out on side of this. I would love for them to be 3-1 going into the bye and get healthy. I hate to admit that 2-2 is probably just as likely though.
I'm rolling with the Eagles here. Went with them last week. Go with them again here this week. I get it. AJ is not there. Devonta's not going to play. I get it. You got Saquon Barkley back there, and that's a different animal than what DeAndre Swift was last year in the playoffs. And I think with the Eagles, they're starting to figure that out. I mean, obviously, you saw the big time run last week that won the Eagles the game there. I think you're going to see more of the same. Saquon is an integral part of what this offense is, and ultimately going to be a big part of where the offense can go. So I think if you lean on the run, limit possessions there, and not really try to do too much, you should be in good shape there. And I know it wasn't the plan to win last week's game 15-12, but if your defense is playing that caliber and slowing teams down like that, and you have the ability to run the rock and control time and possession and things like that, you're going to put yourself in a position to be successful. Now, I think Nick Sirianni does have to learn that sometimes it's okay to be aggressive, but at other times you take the points. This is a week where you absolutely have to take the points when they're given to you, because you don't know how often, one, you don't know how often you're going to get the ball back, and two, you don't know how the offense is going to move down the field consistently without AJ and Devontae. So you put points on the board, your defense comes to play, and you control the time possession. I think all those things will lead to an Eagles win this week.
I would fire Nick Sirianni in the bye week.
If what?
Doesn't matter.
They're 3-1. You're
firing
yeah,
him?
I am. He's going to cost them games down the stretch.
I agree. You can't fire him during a bye week if he's 3-1.
Oh, I could.
All right.
I would leave Fangio the way he is. I would leave Kellen Moore the way he is, and I would fire him. And I would call Bill Belichick and be like, "What do you want to do?"
Nuts. Then your team would be in disarray. That tanks the season.
No, it wouldn't.
Bill, Bill let Kellen
look at Bill doesn't call offense. He doesn't call offense.
I'm just saying,
you're gonna have two great defensive minds with the defense, bro. You saw if you saw from some of the alternate angles, like look at some of the players' reactions when he just refused to kick field goals. Like I'm telling you, like it's been the world's worst kept secret. There's issues in that locker room. There's people on that team that do not like him, and Jalen Hurts is one of them. Like there's no hiding it anymore. Like and he just continues, like he wants to be this aggressive like savant and just keep thinking he's going to get away with it all the time. He's going to lose it. You pull that shit in the playoffs, like you'll cost them a game, and then watch what the players do. Then they won't want to play for him. Then you'll have to fire him. I'd fire him in the bye week.
Nobody circles the wagon quite like the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills are traveling to Baltimore to take on the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is actually surprisingly favored in this game versus the 3-0 Buffalo Bills. I want to go last on this one because I think I have a little bit opposite take than most people do. But Shally, how do you see this game going? Buffalo looks unstoppable. Baltimore almost blew a 20-point lead versus Dallas last week. How do you see this game?
I mean, the game last week with Baltimore was kind of a tale of two halves. I think they got up big. They dominated the first half of that football game, and then I think they went into coast mode way too early. You heard Lamar Jackson kind of talk about it in his post game press conference. He wasn't really happy about it. I think Baltimore is probably one of the better 1-2 teams we've seen in a long time, and like you said, Buffalo. Again, I don't like to pat myself on the back, and Gene doesn't either. But we kind of all told you guys since the preseason there was a chance this was going to happen. There's a chance this offense was going to look dramatically better without a certain someone there, and it does.
And Josh said that recently too, and he had to clarify his comment.
Josh took his. What I think he thought was going to be a subtle dig, and people were on it right away. Listen. He's running. He's complete. I think he leads the NFL in completion percentage, which is for you look at the way he plays. That's kind of nuts. He leads the league in total touchdowns. Last game he completed a pass to 10 different receivers. They are playing true team football on offense right now, and that's dangerous because I think he's in a weird way he has more freedom to play this year with not forcing the ball to Diggs. But at the same time, he's playing more controlled, if that makes sense. And he's just making the easy throw. Like if he has an open guy, he has no conscience. He's just throwing the ball to the open guy, and they're moving the ball. They finally decided to sustain a running game with James Cook. James Cook has looked good in the first couple of weeks. Going to Baltimore is never an easy place to win. But at the same time, it's Buffalo just looks like one of those teams right now. I would be shocked if they went into Baltimore and it wasn't a razor tight game where they didn't come out with a win. I think Baltimore being 2.5, something like that, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2.5 point spread.
I think that's I think if you're a Buffalo fan, you kind of have to like that. I think you can make some money on that spread.
So you're on the Buffalo Bills. What do you think the final score is?
I will say this again. I think Baltimore has played better than what their record shows. They're a very good football team. I know the defense is a little bit nicked up, especially in the back end, which is a little bit concerning. But I think the offense kind of got back on track last week at Dallas. I think it's gonna be one of those cool games because I think Josh and Lamar are both going to show out. I really do. I think they're both going to play really well. And it's going to be a fun game to watch. I'll go Buffalo 31, Baltimore 28.
Okay, Cottrell, where are you at on this one?
So I'm
feel like you're with me here.
I'm rolling with the Baltimore Ravens in this one. I think that how Buffalo has looked so far has been very impressive, and it's not to slight what they're doing at all. I think this is a bad matchup for them. I think the Ravens have a really talented defense, and I think they're going to look at it and say, hey, Marlon Humphrey, you're going to lock up this side of the field. Nate Wiggins, you're going to be on the opposite side of the field, and we're going to play a lot of man coverage, and we're going to try and get after Josh Allen and make him, make those tight throws to these receivers in these tight windows that we know our corners are better than their receivers. And so I think you will see Josh start to look more human in this game. I don't think a lot of the offense will be schemed open as much. I do think you're going to see both of these teams put points up on the board there, but I like the Ravens here. 31-21. I think they cover the 2.5. I think this is a tight game. I know 10 points kind of sounds like a lot there, but I still think this is a tight game. Maybe a Justin Tucker, field goal late to bump it up to 10, and Buffalo's driving to put more points on the board kind of thing. But I like the way that the Ravens offense finally incorporated Derrick Henry into the fold there. That's a great game to do it against the Cowboys, who have all types of trouble stopping the run. I think you're going to be able to continue to keep that moving and, really build upon that and force Buffalo to beat you with plays down the field. And I think, between Wiggins, Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton up top, I just think they have enough to limit the big play.
Since 2013, teams coming off of Monday night home wins and covering the spread are 72% opposite. They're 28% against the spread the next week when they go on the road. 72% of the time the team covers when the other team's playing on Monday Night Football, wins and covers. I got to go with the numbers here. The Baltimore Ravens, I think they win and they cover. The way I see it is it's a 28-24 game. Josh Allen's driving them. Kyle Hamilton steps in front of a ball. I think Josh gets his first turnover this game. Nothing against Buffalo. Give me Baltimore 28, Buffalo 24. And nothing crazy. It's just when you're playing on a short week after playing at home and go on the road, 72% of the time you don't cover. I got to go with the numbers there. It's a wild stat, but it's a stat. And
part of me also thinks it. I've been going back and forth is which one will be more like crazier at this point in the year, Buffalo being 4-0 or the Ravens being 1-3. And I'm on the side of the Ravens being 1-3. Well, I didn't think Buffalo would be good enough to make the playoffs this year. I knew they would still compete. They got Josh Allen. Like I knew they'd be fine. But the idea that the Ravens would be 1-3 4 weeks into the season, like I just don't know if I can believe that right now as well.
You got a big game coming up. 3-0 Seattle Seahawks. They're playing a game versus the Detroit Lions this week. No one thought coming into this schedule, you just mark it down, Detroit win. That's just where we're at, right? Detroit playing Monday Night Football at home versus the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks. Detroit being a 3.5-point spread. The odds makers are telling you these teams are even. That's scary to me. You're telling me that Detroit's only a half a point better than Seattle? That same Seattle team that went into New England should have lost that football game. 3-0 at Detroit. I love Detroit in this spot. They're tougher. We are bigger. We are stronger. We are Batman. And they show it. Dan Campbell, give him credit. Anytime there's a situation in that game where you need a yard, it's no surprise what they're doing. We're just going to use our offensive line, and we're going to push you around up front. I think that slight injuries, and I think that Seattle's had a very fortunate start to the season as far as schedule. They played Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, first start. They played at New England. everyone really predicted them to over-under for wins was 4.5. And then they get Miami Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. I think the Seattle Seahawks team is begging for a loss. Give me Detroit, 31-14. Lions roll.
I don't disagree, so I'll go real quick here. I think Detroit at home. I think the one thing they need to get figured out, I mean, Goff has actually kind of struggled a little bit passing the ball. They really haven't got St. Brown going yet, but I think you're going to see it this week. And again, I think if there's anybody who's had a fortunate schedule so far this year, it's been Seattle. You still got to give them credit for going out and winning the football games. You know, you still got to go out and win and do what's in front of you. But to Gene's point, you played a bad New England team. You played a Miami team with a backup quarterback, and you played another team with a starting rookie quarterback. So they have not knocked off the cream of the crop per se in the NFL so far this year. So I like Detroit as well. Monday night, prime time. Dan Campbell will have that team extremely up for that football game. I think Detroit rolls in it as well. I agree with Gene.
And I'll round us out here because I think Detroit rolls as well. I mean, you guys have hit a ton of the points on the head already. I think going into this game, you know that you can't get beat deep. You know DK cannot be the one to steal 7 points in this game because that's how Seattle has scored in a couple of their games so far. They got beat over the top in the game against the Patriots, and then this game against Miami it happened again. So I think you have to limit DK and you keep somebody over top of him so he doesn't burn you on the big one. I think you'd be in good shape. Kenneth Walker, even if he plays this week, won't be healthy. Probably go heavy Charbonnet again. So that's gonna play into the Lions hand there and be a positive for them. And the way that Lions offense has been looking as well, getting guys like, Gibbs has been more involved. J-Mo's had great games so far, to start the season as well. I think this Lion team really puts it on and shows everybody that Seattle is more pretenders than what their record says. So I think both teams leave the game 3-1.
I will say this. I think Carlton Davis will draw the DK Metcalf assignment for Detroit because Detroit, there's a lot of run ones. And guys, I might have been wrong. Maybe it's this Kyle Hamilton thing where the guy starts slow and comes on strong. There's a lot of run ones in Detroit about benching Terrion Arnold. He's been terrible the first 3 weeks for Detroit. Look for Tyler Lockett or Jackson Smith and Jigba to have a big game on the opposite side of DK Metcalf for Seattle. So just getting
Jigba's had a little bit of kind of a quiet but solid start to the year. Hasn't put up the enormous game yet, but again, it's that you're not going to do that a lot playing opposite of DK Metcalf, obviously. But I think he's had 4 or 5 catches in every game. Like he's
I think he had 1 catch, 9 catches for 112. If I'm not mistaken.
He's had a solid start to the year. He's kind of getting his footing. And again, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we know what he can do, and he's playing with Geno Smith, so that factors into it as well.
Before we get into Pick'em, and I'm kind of looking for something bold here, guys. I mean, I don't want you guys can go very wussy here if you want, and I think that's probably the right answer. But who is the last remaining undefeated team? The undefeated teams are the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Minnesota Vikings, the Seattle Seahawks, and then everyone's favorite pick here would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Who is the last remaining undefeated team, and why is it not the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think the problem is, the Bills have a very tough matchup this week. And then I think there's a chance all the other teams lose this week. So
Steelers play at Indy.
Yeah.
Seattle plays at Detroit. Buffalo plays at Baltimore.
Yeah,
a lot of tough matchups.
It's why it becomes difficult.
I got you, Gene, with the bowl one.
I love it. I'm ready.
I think it ends next week. I think it all ends next week because you're only going to have one remaining team left undefeated after this week, and it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So you're projecting the Chargers beat the Chiefs this week without Justin Herbert.
Without Herbert, I think Harbaugh
without
goes
Herbert
in with
and both starting tackles.
Why are both their tackles? I know Alt got hurt, but Slater. Why wouldn't
Slater? He's hurt too.
I'll check the injury report right now. That's a wild statement. I love it.
Only
Joe,
reason why I had said that is because I know Jim's going to go in with a stingy game plan where it's like, hey, we're going to run the football a million times, and Jesse Minter's going to have the defense ready to go. And I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, Kansas City hasn't played great football so far this year.
neither
I think they are
Alt
beatable
and
team.
Alt's expected to miss this week. And then Rashawn Slater did not practice again today with a pectoral injury.
He's got a half torn pec. I doubt he plays. So yeah, I mean, you're
so all right. So the Steelers and the Chiefs are going to be undefeated at the end of this week.
I love that though. I love it.
With that said, the Chiefs are asking to get beat. I'm putting that out there now.
I like it. I'd ask somebody to be bold. I get it. If Pittsburgh wins this week, they play at home versus Dallas next week, Sunday Night Football.
Oh, I mean, I hope they win that game.
Kansas City plays at home versus New Orleans.
I think that would be where the rubber hits the road for Pittsburgh, though.
And I mean, I mean, if we're just being honest, I think it's gonna be Kansas City. But if I'm not picking Kansas City, I'll roll with Buffalo because like I said, I think they beat Baltimore.
Buffalo next week has at Houston. All right, well,
that's a tough game too.
It is. Let's get into our pick 'em this week. NFL picks. Throw it up there, Cottrell. I know you're ahead of us. That's 6-3. I got back to even. Wait, hold on.
You're 5-4. I don't know why.
5-4. I was going to say
it's got to add up to 9.
I was going to say, man, you're just throwing L's on me. There's no reason for that, but that's all right. Cottrell, what's the order this week? 6-3, 5-4. Scholastic Alley at 2-7.
It's catching random L's.
It's been working out for me, just sliding here in the middle. So I'll let Bill go first. I'll slide back in the middle. Gene, we'll let you bring up the caboose.
It's all right. I'm going to go 3-0 this week, so we'll be all right.
I say that every week. It hasn't happened yet. Starting to get back to – we might have to go back to Shally's fade corner here soon.
Right.
I'm going to start with one. I'm going to go Washington plus 3.5 at Arizona. I think that team is clicking right now. Jaden Daniels looks unstoppable. I think Kyler, even though Kyler has been playing well, I think Arizona will be in that game. But again, I don't think they pull away. I think Washington, honestly, is the better team. I'll take the 3.5 points on the road. Secondly, we just mentioned the one game, Kansas City minus 7.5 to Chargers. I think offensively, I think the Chargers are going to struggle. I don't think Herbert's going to play either if they're re-aggravating the ankle. Both starting tackles are going to be out. I think that's just a lot to put on a backup quarterback and a running back to think you're going to, just constantly get Kansas City off the field defensively. As much as I love Jesse Minter, he's my guy. But that's a tall task with Patrick Mahomes coming to town. I'll take the Chiefs minus 7.5. Last but not least, I just at some point Cincinnati's got to show up with some goddamn heart and play a football game and win. They're playing Carolina. I don't think Andy Dalton has the Joe Montana game again this week. I think Joe Burrow puts up another big game, and I guess hopefully, like I said, hopefully that defense shows up with a pulse and slows down Carolina. I'll take that minus 4.5 on the road.
Love the road games. Love the road games this week. And I'll start with the game that Bill just finished talking about. I love the Bengals minus 3.5 at Carolina. I think this is it feels like a gimme game here at 3.5. Andy Dalton is not going to put up that exact same performance that he had last week. And again, like Bill mentioned as well, this is the team that has to put it together and ultimately win a football game here. I think with T. Higgins, it being his second week in the offense, back from injury. Jamar Chase obviously had a really good game Monday night as well. I think this Bengals team, they finally get in the win column and they cover that 3.5 point spread. Second game, I love the Thursday night football matchup. Cowboys minus 5.5 at the Giants. You got the Cowboys who are coming off of a emotional loss to the Ravens where they kind of stormed back, going to the Giants where they had Daniel Jones looking great and they're coming off of a road win at Cleveland. So I think that the Cowboys will get everything going. We know the Cowboys' kryptonite is teams that love to run the ball, and the Giants aren't going to do that. They're not going to kill you with Devin Singletary. So I love the Cowboys to cover that 5.5 point spread. And last game, again, I don't really do this. So if I'm putting my confidence in them, then they're going to cover the spread and win the game. I got the Browns plus 1.5 at the Raiders. Look, if they would have beat the Giants last week, this would not have been one of my picks. But with them coming off of that loss, I feel like this is a week 4 must-win football game for that team. So I think they go to Vegas, they win the football game with all the uncertainty that Vegas has at quarterback. They don't have a rushing attack. So I like the Browns to go in and win the football game in Vegas.
All right.
I just hate that I drank the Browns Kool-Aid finally and they stink.
You see, I didn't do it.
You didn't drink the Browns Kool-Aid?
He picked them last week. That's what he's talking about.
Oh, I was going to say.
No, I picked them to win the division too. That ain't going to happen.
Hey, Control drank the Browns Kool-Aid. He hasn't been in the damn Super Bowl. Just be clear.
Bill had an AFC championship game.
What?
I said Bill had an AFC championship game.
Yeah, no, I did not. I didn't have no playoffs. But I want to ask you guys a question before I go. You guys both gave spreads that are different than what I have. Yours is a half a point. I have one of your games and one of Bill's. They're both a half a point. I lose a half. I've used ESPN. No. One of them's a half a point worse for me. The other one's a half a point better. I use ESPN Bet. I use ESPN.com because I don't go on the sports betting sites anymore. Am I good with my spread? ESPN.
I mean, I looked at FanDuel kind of like recently, and I was at 4.5 for Cincinnati.
That's not what I'm on.
I know. I'm saying, but Cottrell thought it was 3.5, so I don't know if it moved. So I'm saying I could be wrong on that one.
I've been using ESPN because ESPN has the spreads right there, so I don't have to go on FanDuel, who's basically kicked me off their website. So okay. I'm going to read out my games, and you guys tell me if I'm good with it afterwards. We'll get an official ruling. Is that cool?
That's fine.
All right. I have the Cowboys -6 over the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. I like the Cowboys in this football game. I think they need to win the game. Giants coming off an emotional win. Cowboys coming off a tough loss. They normally respond after those, and they always beat the shit out of the Giants. Last year, they beat them by 40 points in New York. I like the Cowboys in this one, -6. So you had 5.5. I got the Jets, -7.5 over the Broncos. Aaron Rodgers looked like himself. Garrett Wilson's going to get more involved. Mike Williams, Allen Lazard, Breece Hall. The Jets defense is going to frustrate Bo Nix. They make good quarterbacks look bad. Imagine what they're going to do to a rookie. Give me the Jets. I'm laying the 7.5. I'm easy there. And the last game, we just talked about this. Now, granted, they weren't home. Winning an emotional Monday night football game, traveling on the road across the country to play at Arizona. I love the Cardinals in this spot. Give me the Cardinals -3 over the Commanders in Arizona. Arizona stays at home. They don't travel. Washington has a short week, has to travel across the country. This look-ahead spread was 5. It dropped all the way to 2. It's been bet up to 3 and 3.5 on certain sites. I love the Cardinals in this spot. Give me the Cardinals -3 over the Commanders. Now, that's what I was asking. I had the Cowboys -6, which is a half a point more than you do, and I have the Cardinals -3, which is a half a point less than what Shally has. So I'm basically cheating myself a half a point both ways.
Because we're on the same side, we'll give you the 5.5. I'll say that.
I don't need the 5.5. I'm good with the 6 as long as
I am too. I don't think it matters. I don't think we're sweating this either way. Okay. And the Cowboys win by 17.
I just want to make sure I'm good with the 3. That's it.
That's you and Bill's beef.
It's not beef. He's got the 3.5. He can get the 3.5. I got the 3. I found a bet. I use ESPN. I use it every week.
Here's my thing. I don't care. But I guess my only gripe would be, in theory,
if it lands on 3.
Yeah, like
I take a push.
I'm with. Yeah, I just don't think we should have. I guess there's just a chance to have 2 positive outcomes on a game, and I think that's where it gets weary for me.
How about I'll lay the 3.5 because that's how confident I am that the Cardinals win. I don't care. Lay the 3.5. Give me the Cardinals.
All right, whatever you want to do.
Let's move on to some. We're going to do trivia this week. Charles got a question ready, but Shally doesn't want to do it. He's in Florida. He says his brain's not ready.
Brain's hot.
Fair. We'll wait till next week. We'll get in some college football. We got MLB. We got WNBA. But hey, listen. Let's get into college football.
We tried that, Justin. He's banned from FanDuel, so we can't use FanDuel anymore.
Yeah, I am banned from FanDuel. Partially my fault. Fair problem. But Cottrell, start us off for college football.
All right, so we'll start off with the we got some pretty good games this week. So
a lot of ranked this week.
Rank matchups here. So we'll start though with Louisville, number 15 Louisville, 3-0, traveling to South Bend, taking on Notre Dame, number 16 Notre Dame, that's 3-1.
Okay.
Who you want me to start here? Because I can.
Well, I'll start here. I didn't pick this game because I think it's an ugly spread. I hate the 6.5. I think Notre Dame can beat them by 40 or not cover. Like, it's just one of those things. It's weird. I think Notre Dame wins the football game. I think they're the better game. Louisville has not played a true road game this year. It's the first time they're on the road. They're 6-20 in their last 26 road games against the spread. Give me Notre Dame minus 6.5. Riley Leonard's looked really good the last couple weeks. 135 yards, even though they didn't cover last week, 135 yards on the ground for Riley Leonard. And then 2 weeks ago, that was the week where they put up a 50-burger and covered a 6-point spread by 40. So give me Notre Dame in this one. I'll take Notre Dame, and I'll take them to cover.
I think this is an ugly game. I mean, Louisville beat a good Georgia Tech team last week, and that is what's a little concerning here. And Notre Dame struggled with a really bad Miami of Ohio team. Notre Dame is probably going to win. They're going to win at home. If I had to bet this game, I would not bet them to cover, though. I think it's a close game. I think Louisville will be able to move the ball a little bit. I don't think it's going to be kind of an up and down field type situation. That defense is still really good, but I also think they're going to limit Riley Leonard a little bit. So I don't think Notre Dame kind of gaps Louisville here. But so I'll pick Notre Dame to win the game. I don't think they cover though.
I got Notre Dame, and I actually do like them to cover. I think they're going to be able to run the football and run it very effectively. Riley Leonard's gotten it going with his legs, and Jeremiah Love has also been having some really good games to start out the year here. Bill, you said that Notre Dame struggled with Miami of Ohio, and I get it. They struggled in that first half and early on in that game, but I mean they kind of cruised to 25-point win. So I think Notre Dame
struggle for half a game against Miami of Ohio.
It happens to we've seen it happen across college football. Penn State had games where they struggled.
Okay.
Oregon struggled against Idaho. Michigan struggled against.
I don't disagree, but Notre Dame also has a loss already this year.
I get it. I'm just saying it happens.
More of a pattern with them. It's more of a pattern than a one-off thing, is what I'm saying.
If you win this game, this is a ranked opponent that you're going up against, that you have as a win. It's going to boost your ratings there, and you'll be all right. So I like Notre Dame, like them to win the game. I think Louisville is getting a. You said Georgia Tech was a good team. I think they get a bump because they beat Florida State earlier in the year. I think Georgia Tech has a loss to Syracuse. I think this is a game where Notre Dame has full control of it, and they ultimately go on, win the game. I actually like them to cover the 6.5. Not picking it, but I like them to cover.
I think Georgia Tech's better than anybody Notre Dame's played.
I wouldn't disagree with you.
Just saying.
I guess Georgia Tech's better than A&M now at College Station.
I think it's games closer than you think it is if it's neutral.
Actually, I do disagree with you. I forgot they played A&M. I'm thinking better than Northern Illinois, but no, they're not better than A&M.
Northern Illinois turned around and lost down to Buffalo last week.
Hey, who picked them? I did.
You did.
All right, where are we going next?
Next game. We got a matchup in the 20s here in the Big 12. Number 20, Oklahoma State, 3-1. Traveling to number 23, Kansas State, also at 3-1.
Let me go first on this one.
Okay.
Can someone help me out and understand why Oklahoma State's a 5-point dog in this game? Because Kansas State just played BYU and got the shit kicked out of them. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State just played Utah in a close game. Alan Bowman, Ollie Gordon still hasn't got off yet. I think this is the game where he breaks out. I like Oklahoma State plus the 5. 7th-year quarterback Alan Bowman. Give me Oklahoma State. Give me the Cowboys over Kansas State this week.
Well, the reason I think the spread is that way because it appears as if I don't know if Mike Gundy's actually come out and say it, but I don't know if they've named their starting quarterback for this week yet. Alan Bowman didn't get hurt last week, but he got benched. I mean, Utah was in firm control of that game. I know the numbers made it look like it was a close game, but Utah was all over that Oklahoma State team there. So I think people are kind of writing that game off for Kansas State as like, hey, travel to BYU, you lost the game. It's not going to be the same going back home and knowing what you have there. So I actually like Kansas State to win the game there. The uncertainty at the quarterback position does scare me.
To be clear, right after the game, Alan Bowman, Mike Gundy said Alan Bowman will remain the Cowboys starting quarterback. Just FYI, I googled that immediately just to make sure.
Yeah, but if you get benched in a game where you're down, 16, I think it was at that point, and your backup comes in and gets the offense rolling, I think that lets you know that, hey, you're on a short leash. So do think Oklahoma State has some uncertainty there at quarterback, and that's why I'm rolling with Avery Johnson in Kansas State to bounce back and win this football game at home.
I think a lot of that is more of a testament to Utah's defense as well. Kansas State does not play defense like Utah. And again, I told Alex, he didn't listen. I told him to not bet Kansas State going into BYU because teams go there all the time and they lose. BYU's ranked now. I don't know if they should be. But Kansas State they've been all over the place. I think they've one really good win. They went to Tulane and barely won that game. I think they won that by a possession. That might have been an overtime game. Went to BYU and got thumped. I agree with Gene on this one. I mean, that all that being said, I'm not sure Oklahoma State. I'm not super confident they go there and win. I don't like the spread though. I mean, if I'm betting that game, I will gladly take the Cowboys and the points and be kind of happy about it.
All right. Well, so we split there. We got two more games to go into here. One of them being, this is your appetizer, your 7:30 appetizer. There's another, the main event is also at 7:30, but this one's your 7:30 appetizer. You got the number 19 Illinois Fighting Illini coming into this game 4-0, traveling to Happy Valley to face number 9 Penn State Nittany Lions, who are also 3-0.
Bro, could someone explain to me why Penn State's a 19-point favorite in this game?
I cannot.
I can't either. Illinois just went in Nebraska, beat them, beat Kansas earlier in the season. Like, why are they 19-point Vegas knows something because all the money better be on Illinois in this game. I think Penn State wins the football game. I don't think they have a snowball's chance of covering. I think they win the game by 10, maybe 13. I think that's what ends up happening in the Happy Valley because it's in Penn State. But 19 freaking points? Are you guys out of your damn mind? Unless Vegas knows something I don't know, I'm going Penn State, but I'm not picking them to cover.
So, the one thing for me is Illinois is kind of a tough team. Like they're going to go in there. They're going to play tough. The defense is pretty good. Penn State's going to have to earn it. Penn State. The only thing that concerns me is this was a TBD game for a while, and it's now become the primetime game, which pretty much gives Penn State a second whiteout this year, which is what's going to happen. I didn't like Brett Bielema getting on his press conference and kind of downplaying that situation because that's going to be a different environment than his kids have ever played in when they get there Saturday. That being said, after the first quarter and everybody settles in, again, I think Penn State's a better football team, but I don't think it's by 19 points.
No.
I firmly expect them to win. But again, I watched every second of the Illinois-Nebraska team. Illinois has got a couple kids that can run the ball hard. Almeyer was amazing. He outplayed Dylan Raiola in that game, which nobody's talking about. And their defense has a couple dogs on the back end, I think, which is the right spot to where they can frustrate Penn State a little bit. So again, I think Penn State wins at home. I don't think they cover either. It's kind of one of the crazier spreads for the year, which leads me to kind of like Gene said, I'm a little bit concerned that somebody knows something that I don't. But 19, I think for a team that has a couple big wins this year already, is a little bit disrespectful.
Talk about Altmaier changing his course. Last year, he had 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, turned the ball over almost as much as he's thrown touchdowns. This year, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Huge difference this year for him. I think maybe it's an Illinois thing. Maybe it's a whiteout thing. Maybe Cottrell will spread some thought process in my mind. But yeah, I'm with you, dude.
I think the biggest thing is that there's a lot of unknowns here. I get it. Illinois has beaten a good Kansas team, and they also beat a good Nebraska team. Neither of those teams play defense like what Penn State will. And I get it. You look at the Penn State game against Bowling Green, and they let up a lot of points there. Bowling Green's played everyone they've seen so far tough. And regardless if you think Penn State's overrated, if you think A&M's overrated, Bowling Green has a good football team. And, Bill's given them credit all year long so far. So I think a big part of it is the unprovenness against a really good defense, like how we expect Penn State's defense to be. Gene, you're about to say something. What are you?
Yeah, just one quick thing. Next time we mention Dylan Raiola, can we just, instead of Dylan Raiola, can we just call him Cosplay Mahomes? Like, I honestly just want to go there. Can we just do that? Cosplay Mahomes?
His brother looks like Jackson.
Jesus Christ. Cosplay Patrick Mahomes did not.
It is weird.
It's weird, bro. That's freaking next level weird.
No, but I'm saying, to Cottrell's point, his younger brother looks like the other one. Like, it's weird. He played pretty well in that game, dude. I mean,
yeah, he played well.
He's not the reason they lost that game.
But yeah, just as far as Illinois goes, though, I think them consistently moving the ball against that Penn State defense is really where my question marks go. Now, granted, I do think Illinois' defense will be able to at least slow down Penn State's attack. So 19 is heavy.
Counterpoint would be that is definitely the best defense that team is going to see all year. So
yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying there, but I do think that Penn State handles their business in this game. I think it's a 2-possession game. I think 19 is a little crazy there, but I could see this being a 13, 14-point win for Penn State. Never really having a true struggle here. I see it being something like 27-13, where Penn State's got full grasp of the game, but ultimately don't cover. I wouldn't be surprised if they cover. I just don't think Illinois has the offense to move up and down the field consistently against that Penn State defense.
Love it.
Now we got the main event, the other 7:30 game. Got the Georgia Bulldogs, number 2 in the country, 3-0, going to Tuscaloosa, faced number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide, who are also 3-0. Spread is -2 for Georgia on the road.
You want to go? You want me to go?
I'll
last for Georgia.
I'll start it off. I'll start it off here. I'm rolling with Kalen DeBoer, and I'm rolling with Alabama. I like Alabama to win the game at home. I think Jalen Milrose played some really, really good football to start this year. I love the explosiveness that comes out of that Alabama offense. I think they will be able to stretch the field a little bit against Georgia. Not truly stretch the field like they have been so far this season, but I think they can get 1 or 2, shot plays on that Georgia defense. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Alabama's done a really good job of getting after the quarterback. We see it every year with that team. They always have edge rushers that attack the quarterback, and this year has been no different. I do think last week was an anomaly for Georgia. I think it was the classic look ahead game. They said, "Hey, we got Bama on the schedule next week, and we're not too worried about Kentucky this week." So I do think Georgia will come to play, but ultimately, I think Alabama is the better team at this point in the season. So that's why I'm rolling with Alabama getting it done at home.
So, this is one of those truly kind of head versus gut things. Head tells me to take Georgia, especially coming off a bye week. Read a bunch of stuff that ETN kind of finally really looked healthy in practice this week, kind of had his burst, and they're going to Kirby Smart's going to come rolling in Tuscaloosa off a bye week, 2 weeks to prep for Alabama. My gut kind of falls in line with Cottrell. I think this is the most overlooked fourth ranked team in the history of college football that I've ever seen. Nobody mentions Alabama's name when you talk to anybody this year. It's like you hear Georgia, you hear Ohio State, you hear a lot of people pick Oregon. A lot of people are jumping on the Tennessee bandwagon. You have the group that thinks Lane Kiffin gets it done this year. They've been ranked fourth all year, and nobody's talking about them. I agree with Cottrell. I think Jalen Milroe got a taste of what it takes to get it done last year. I think he has that chip on his shoulder from losing the Rose Bowl last year, and I think this is kind of his redemption tour this year. I think he's looked great under Kalen so far. And I'll just be honest, Georgia just hasn't impressed me yet this year. Games in Tuscaloosa. I like Kalen DeBoer. I still think Kirby's the better coach. But that being said, I'm going to go with Bama. I think Bama pulls off the upset. I think Bama gets done at home. But I also think this kind of lights the fire under Georgia. And I think you see a different Georgia the rest of the year after this game.
Which is why I put an emphasis on better team right now, like this
Agreed.
week. Like that's where that whole emphasis was put there.
Like, I don't know who Georgia plays next week, but whoever it is,
look out.
I will take Georgia in the point.
Well, they play Auburn, but in Georgia. But
it's fine. It could be 40. I'll bet it.
Guys, I never love being on the opposite side of two of the smartest college football guys I know.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm telling you right now, look me in my eyes. I'm telling you right now, Georgia off a bye week with a little trap game they had versus Kentucky. Kirby Smart all week. It's to tell them, you guys ain't that good. You guys ain't that good. Is going to go into Alabama and kick the shit out of the Crimson Tide. This game is going to be a bigger spread than Penn State versus Illinois. Georgia beats them by multiple scores. Take it to your bookie. Take it to the bank. Georgia wins this game big.
The extra week of prep is, like I said, that's the head part. That
Bama also had the week of prep.
No, they played Wisconsin last week.
No, they didn't. That was 2 weeks ago.
I'm pretty
Both
sure
teams are coming off a bye.
They might be.
They are.
Okay.
I think, again, but I think Bama coming off a convincing win versus Georgia coming off the trap. And, again, I'm sure the 2 weeks of practice in Georgia were not pleasant.
Love,
but
I don't care. Give me Georgia. Georgia 35, Alabama 17.
Wow. That would be a statement.
No tie.
Would be. Especially in Alabama. That's definitely a big time statement.
Biggest test for Kalen DeBoer in his young Alabama career.
It's the game of the year so far, though. I mean, we've had some really good matchups already, but this is the absolute highest caliber so far.
By the way,
Georgia goes into Alabama and does that. Georgia Tennessee becomes a goddamn Super Bowl almost.
I'll tell you this. I want to change a couple things. If I could change a couple things based off what I've seen 4 weeks into the season, I think Ole Miss wins the SEC. I think Ole Miss wins the SEC. Jackson Dart and them boys look different.
When hasn't Lane Kiffin looked good against bad teams?
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
they got to play somebody.
I guess we will see, but they've looked really good. But
and I'm not, and again, I'm not going against you saying they aren't that team, but until I see them play anybody with the same talent level and a pulse, then I'm holding off on them putting up 40 against
Bama, mid-tier. Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah, correct.
It's fair. I'll say this, and I kind of want to get into our picks for a minute, but if you guys aren't tuning in to Coast on Saturday morning, I don't know what to tell you, because right now they are rolling. That show has been killing it. Over 1,000 views to 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Make sure you're tuning in to some Coast on Saturday morning. They're absolutely killing it.
Real quick here, since we're here, I know we're about to move on to baseball and WNBA action. Throughout the first 4 weeks, who would you guys have as your Heisman favorite right now? Gene, I know you love Jackson.
That's it.
Milrose definitely up there. Like Milrose played incredible. Nico's been great. Like
I hate to say it. I mean, I think Nico is probably my pick right now. I could hear Jalen arguments. Again, Jackson's look great. I just need Jackson to do it against somebody who looks like they should actually be on the field against him. And then I'm trying to think who else. Like I feel like I'm missing somebody big.
Dare I say Arch?
No.
Come on.
He actually didn't even look good.
No, he didn't. But his first game, he went.
First game looked incredible. That throw.
And again, I actually feel bad for Quinn because again, I felt like Quinn was on that island with Jalen where like he was still just getting disrespected even after beating Michigan, and then he gets hurt. And
you know who you're missing? Do you know who you're missing though? You're missing last year's. No, you're missing last year's first 4 weeks of the season Heisman, and he's the favorite right now to win the Heisman. Cam Ward.
I don't think we're gonna. I mean, I'm not falling in that trap. I'm not saying he can't win it because I think Miami might run away with the ACC. But again, if you have like if Milroe beats Georgia Saturday, or Jackson Dart does beat Bama and somebody else that keeps putting up those numbers, those guys are going to rocket past him.
100%. The current favorite right now, though, is Cam Ward, followed by Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Nico. Dylan Gabriel is 5th, Quinn Ewers 6th, Carson Beck 7th, Travis Hunter 8th.
Carson Beck has a big game Saturday. He can jump right back up there. I'm not even gonna let Cottrell get started on Dylan Gabriel. But I mean, honestly though, like that's probably where we should be right now. If I'm being honest, like that is the right group of names.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to because I think we're all in agreement here. We know Colorado's not going to be a factor later in the year. If they're lucky, they win 6 games this year. I am curious to see Travis Hunter's numbers and how they stack up at the end of the year. Like, are his numbers going to be undeniable enough to get at least the invite to New York? Obviously, he won't win on a 5-6 win team. It's not going to happen. But the way he's played on both sides of the ball, I mean, you could argue that he's been the best receiver in the country and the second best corner in the country because Will Johnson had an incredible start to the year.
Just say you better be careful because I knew what you were going to say. Listen, I think
they're going to go into UCF and get their ass kicked this week. So,
see, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think there's a difference between. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Being on a winning team matters for that award, which I don't think it should. I hate that. They're not really giving it to the. I think there's people. I think there's people that have lost the award that probably should have won the award. The last couple of years. I think the problem he's also going to have is every single person that Gene just named in that list, they're all quarterbacks. And again, unless they all start splitting against each other, if any of them go on a run, have it be Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Carson Beck, Nico, if any of them go on a run and go nuts and are sitting there 11-0 at the end of the year, he's not going to beat them. I mean, he probably goes number 1 in the draft next year. I mean, he's going to get drafted before most of these kids, but and I wouldn't. I don't think you could argue that he's not the best probably player in college football. I don't think he has a shot to win the award. I don't know if he even gets invited.
All right, well, let's move on to our college football pick'em.
Gene, that's been your domain.
This whole thing's backwards. I won NFL last year. Gene's winning in college this year. So it's the world's going the wrong way.
I'll stay going first here. College football. I still think that Cottrell and Shalley are much better college football minds than I am. I can clearly say that. So I'll stay going first. Shalley, why don't you go in the middle this time, and then Cottrell end us out.
I lost 3 games last week by a total of 5 points.
Listen, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to continue to go to the well until the well runs out of water. Give me Ole Miss minus 17.5 at home versus Kentucky. Jackson Dart playing Kentucky. Kentucky's not that good of a defense. Ole Miss is playing at home. They're going to kick the shit out of them. Give me Ole Miss minus 17.5 over Kentucky. Once again, going back to the well, give me the U minus 19 over Virginia Tech. Once again, Miami's playing at home. Virginia Tech's not a great road team. University of Miami is going to destroy them. They had a really rough first half last week, and then all of a sudden, the University of Miami dominated. The whole second half, won the game by 40 points. Third game, this is a game, I don't know. This is just more of, I don't think one team's in the other team's class. I'll take Iowa State minus 13 over Houston. Houston stinks. They are a bad football team. They just lost 34-0 to Cincinnati. I think Iowa State can beat them by 2 touchdowns. And then for my super dog, this is 100% a blind. I'm taking a home dog, getting a lot of friggin' points. Guys, Oregon hasn't looked that good this year.
I knew that's where you were
Give
going.
me UCLA plus 25.5 over Oregon. Do we forget that Oregon's basically played some really tough football games this year, particularly one versus Boise earlier in the year? I think UCLA can keep this game within 25.5. By no means do I think UCLA is good enough to beat them, but I think they can keep within 15 to 20, and that'll pick me up some super dog points. Give me UCLA plus 25.5 for my super dog.
Have you watched UCLA play yet this year?
They're terrible. They're playing at home. It's a rivalry game, and Oregon hasn't looked great.
They got Dylan Gabriel, so I'm with you, G.
Yeah, see, I mean,
go Bruins.
That doesn't.
I'll say this: UCLA looked a lot better last week versus LSU. They were tied with them at the half. They looked really good.
Did. Speaking of LSU, well, I'll get to LSU in a minute.
Oh man.
Cottrell and Alex argue about Dylan Gabriel daily in the other chat. It's every day. I just wake up and I just wait for the updates. But here we go. This is what I'm going with this week. The only thing I'm good at right now is Super Dog, so you should probably not listen to anything I say until I get to that. Fresno State plus 1.5 at UNLV. Only reason I'm bringing this up is if you lived under a rock, the UNLV starting quarterback literally just quit football on Tuesday because he said UNLV hasn't paid him his NIL money that he was promised. Walked off the field, quit. I'm telling you, if you want this, bet it now because by kickoff time against Fresno State, who is a very good football team, they're one of the last probably 7 or 8 that have a shot to make the Group of 5 and get the automatic berth in the college football playoff. Their only loss is Michigan. This is going to go the other way by kickoff on Saturday. They will be favored by the time they kick off on Saturday. So if you want it, bet it now. You can still get Fresno as plus 1.5. This will probably be -2, -3 for Fresno by the time kickoff. So take it now. My next game, I'm going with the game we talked about, Illinois plus 18.5. Some people have 19.5. Again, I think Penn State wins the game. Illinois, I think, is just a tough, tough. They play together. I think they have good players. I think they'll be able to run the ball against Penn State a little bit. They have 2 big backs that run tough. Give me Illinois to cover there in Happy Valley, even though it's going to be a whiteout. Last but not least, mention a game, Gene just mentioned, Colorado plus 14.5 at UCF. I think UCF is definitely the better team. Don't get me wrong. I think Colorado somehow keeps this game close. I was right on them last week. I thought they were going to win by a lot, and they did. And I think they go on the road, and I think they go down to Florida, and I think they play well. Weather also looks like, it could be iffy down here where we are. And Central Florida is literally 20 minutes from where I am. So that being said, I think Travis Hunter and the boys come down and make an interesting football game. My super dog of the week, I'm taking South Alabama plus 22.5 at LSU. LSU is not good. They got pushed to the brink again with UCLA last week. They're bragging about beating a South Carolina team that I don't think has a win yet, or maybe they have won. I think they were hanging their hat on the fact that they played well with USC, and that's kind of their calling card this year. South Alabama, I watched last week. If you're not familiar with them, their offense, they have a quarterback that can run and throw, and they put up points. They got a bunch of fast guys on the outside. They went into Appalachian State and beat the shit out of them, and that doesn't happen ever. They went in there and dominated them last Friday night. I think, I don't think they win the game. I think they absolutely keep the game within 3 touchdowns, though. So I'm taking South Alabama plus 22.5 at LSU.
All right, so I got some pretty lame picks for you guys this week. Not gonna lie, but I think they hit. First one, again, don't pick them often on the show. So if I pick them, I'm confident in them. Like Ohio State minus 23.5 at Michigan State. It's gonna be a night game. Michigan State doesn't have any offense that can put up points against this Ohio State team. I think this is a game where if Ohio State scores 31 points, they're going to cover that 23.5 point spread. So love Ohio State on the road to cover that. Was looking at the points in this game as well, and didn't make sense to me. Michigan's minus 9.5 at home versus Minnesota. Look, I get it. Minnesota's got the transfer quarterback from New Hampshire that's been actually playing pretty well to start out the year. Michigan's going to run the ball into the dirt and run Minnesota into oblivion. Love Michigan to cover the 9.5 point spread in this game. Maybe lower scoring, but I think Michigan covers that no problem. Last game I like Cincinnati plus 2.5 at Texas Tech. That spread's telling me that people believe that Cincinnati is the better football team in this game. If it was a neutral site game, you're going to be picking Cincinnati there. Brendan Sorensby has started out the year absolutely on fire, and this is a team that is really a possession away from being undefeated at this point. Love Cincinnati to go to Texas Tech, take care of business, and win the football game. And I must be doing something right this week because me and Charlie have the same super dog. I love South Alabama plus 22.5 at LSU. That South Alabama offense is averaging 48 points a game so far this football season. They are top 10 in the country in total points per game this year. I think they're going to be able to put up points against that LSU team. And while I think LSU wins, I think this is a game where it's going to be within 10 in the fourth quarter, and people are going to be tuning in like, who the hell is this South Alabama team that's pushing LSU to the brink? So I love them to pick the Jaguars of South Alabama to pick me up some super dog points and put me back in the race there.
Loving it. Fired up. Guys, we missed a little MLB talk, and we've been light on it the last few weeks. And I just want to, before we move into MLB talk, I want to remind you guys all, you got to tune in Saturday morning, Coast to Coast Weekly. Great college football show. If you want to get a little bit more in-depth college football. We're going to move into baseball. And one of the things I want to talk about most of baseball is these wild card races coming on the stretch. Like by next week, we'll know all the playoffs. And actually, I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the lead-up series have already started. Am I correct? They start on next Wednesday?
I think they start Wednesday, yeah.
Okay. So the series I'm most interested in, or like the part of the standings I'm most interested in, is the National League wild card. Yeah, 4 teams, sure. 1 team's got it, and 3 teams for 2 spots. Just today, the doubleheader in Atlanta for the New York Mets, Atlanta Braves was postponed until Monday to pass the hurricane.
Yep.
The Atlanta Braves are a half a game behind the Diamondbacks, and they're 1 full game behind the New York Mets. The Mets play at the Brewers this weekend, and the Atlanta Braves play home versus Kansas City. Kansas City is still filing for their wild card, so they're going to be playing too. This playoff breakdown this weekend is going to be wild. The only team in Arizona this weekend plays against they played home versus San Diego. Talking about a series, they're playing for wild card seeding. Like tough series is all around, right? So what 2 teams in the National League make the playoffs? Assuming San Diego's one of them. They're 4.5 up. They're a half. Their magic number is like 1.
They clinched.
Yes.
No, they clinched.
They clinched last
on
night.
A triple play.
Oh, yeah.
Triple play.
You're right. They clinched last night.
We were watching that game live here in the house. It was crazy.
So what 2 teams do you think? New York, Arizona, Atlanta?
I am going to go with Arizona for sure. And I actually think the Braves pull it out at home in that final series against the Mets. I think they find a way to get it done. So I'll go Arizona and Atlanta.
It's actually wild that you say that because I'm also going Arizona and Atlanta, but it actually sucks though for Atlanta because they're going to get absolutely hosed by this schedule.
Their pitching is going to be way off kilter. It is.
Chris Sale may not even see a game in the next series. Like, you got a guy who's, going to win a Cy Young and won't even be able to pitch in the playoffs for your team. Like, I think
that depends. A lot can happen.
I say Atlanta has to hope that they get their number down to like 1 or something, and the Mets struggle against the Brewers this weekend. And when they come to town, and at that point, you have to take a calculated risk. And even if it's his spot, you gotta pass him. You got to pass them, and then hope you just win one of the 3 games to get in, and then you can start him game 1. That's what you have to do. Because if not, if he's supposed to pitch in that series, that means Max Fried's going to pitch in that series, which means you're possibly going into a playoff series, and your top 2 guys aren't going to pitch. You can't do it.
I know.
You got to skip one of them.
But I think Atlanta ultimately does get in, but I'm sure they are pretty upset with how things all played out here. But as far as the Arizona goes, I mean, I just think it would be nuts if Arizona didn't make the playoffs. Like, the run that they went on for them not to make the playoffs, I think would just be insane. And ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the Braves and Mets playing each other. And it's going to come down to the winner of that series. And I think the Braves are going to take care of business and get it done.
I'm going to put you guys on right now. I think 2 teams this weekend are playing for nothing. I'm going to put you on. I think the San Diego Padres ultimately know they can't catch the Dodgers. Even though they're 2 games back, the Dodgers play a home series versus the Colorado Rockies. It's a give-up series. Colorado's checked out. The Dodgers win that series. They'd have to get swept by the Rockies for the Padres to catch them. Padres mail it in versus the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are in. I think you guys agree there. That's why you guys have the Diamondbacks in. Am I right?
For sure.
The other series that a lot of people aren't talking about.
Hold on. I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Okay, help me. Explain.
Well, you said
I agree the Diamondbacks are going to.
I agree Arizona's in, but I'm disagreeing with you on the Padres thing. They're what, 2 back?
They're 2 back.
They play again tonight.
Correct.
So if they win that, they're 1 back.
I don't think they win tonight. That's my whole thing. I think the Dodgers win tonight.
Again, I mean, we have to see what happens. But if they win tonight, by no means are they going to mail it in that last series until they're eliminated. I mean, they'll make Dodgers at least play everybody and
it's a tale told longer than anyone. Every team that's clinched a playoff berth, the next night they've lost.
Yeah.
It's so San Diego Padres celebrate last night. I don't know what their lineup's going to look like tonight, but I'll tell you what, Dylan Cease is pitching for San Diego, so they got a shot. But I think the Dodgers win the night. That's over. I think Arizona runs through San Diego, gets one of the 2 spots. Here's the other one I think a lot of people are missing. Philadelphia Phillies win tonight. The Brewers are locked into the 3. They play the Mets this weekend. The Brewers are going to be setting up their rotation and resting their players. I think the Mets sweep the Brewers in Milwaukee, and I think the Braves win 2 out of 3 versus Kansas City, meaning the Braves would have to win both games of the doubleheader on Monday to have the tiebreaker and be in the playoffs, which means they'll have to pitch Sale and Fried on Monday.
I guess the only pushback I would have with you, I don't think the Mets sweep the Brewers. I'm just saying, I think even if they win 1, I mean, I understand what you're saying about setting up your pitching. Those guys are still going to throw on their off day. So the difference of them going out there and throwing, their bullpen and whatever else, like they'll still start them. They're just going to pull them after 3. They're still going to let a lot of their starters play, at least get a couple of bats. They're not going to start sitting guys for a whole week. And not see live pitching. That's not what they're going to do. So I think Milwaukee still ekes a game out there somehow. Still puts Atlanta in a bad spot. I agree with you on that, but it's going to be real interesting. The Phillies are up 9-5 right now, so that would lock them into nothing lower than the 2 seed. It'll be the Dodgers have to have a 4-game series somewhere because they played.
They play the Padres tomorrow too. I just realized that. Walker Buehler versus Musgrove.
All right. Well, there you go. Dylan Cease takes care of business tonight somehow.
Tomorrow, for the division, you might be right.
Yes, that's my point. I agree with you. They probably celebrated it last night, but I think other teams are celebrating their playoff spots. They have no shot at the division, where the Padres go in the clubhouse, be like, yeah, we won tonight. We're locked in, but we can still win the division and grab the 1 or 2 seed here. So I expect them to play everybody tonight. It'll be interesting when the lineups come out in a little bit, but I think the Padres are going to try to win that game.
You might be right, but I'm going to go with the Mets and the Diamondbacks for my 2 teams in the NL. My lineup is posted for the Padres. They got Rays, Tatis, Profar, Machado, Morel, Bogarts,
everybody.
They're going everybody.
They're live.
They're alive. They're all playing.
Will be very interesting to see how that plays out. Going to the American League, that wild card series is not wrapped up yet either. You have the Royals. The Orioles all but locked it up. They're winning again tonight.
They did. No, they clinched.
They clinched last night. They clinched a playoff spot.
They're locked in. So you basically have 3 teams for 2 spots again. Now, the wild thing is the collapse of the Twins and the rise of the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers are won 3 straight games, and Tariq Skubal is ready to pitch in the postseason. They have a series to end they're playing the Rays again tonight. The Tigers are going to end their series versus the White Sox, who are awful. I think this is done. I think Minnesota's out. I don't think this is even a question. Do you guys disagree?
Well, I mean, I think Minnesota gets the luxury of going up against Baltimore, who at that point
is locked into 4, I think.
Yeah, so
they're not locked in. If they beat the Yankees tonight, they're 3 back with 3 to play.
My point is they can't go any lower, so they're going to be in the same situation. If they lose, say, the next game, then they're 4 back with 2 to go. They automatically get into sit mode. They know they can't go any lower than 4, and all these other teams. It's Detroit's other issue is if it comes down to the last day somehow, they're going to have to pitch Skubal on short rest to get in, and
they have a 2-game lead.
Yeah, I mean it's
going to be fun. White Sox.
You know, something goofy will happen.
The Royals
the White Sox will win a game somehow.
The Royals are the other one you got to worry about. They play out in Atlanta, so they're going to play out Atlanta, and they could lose all 3 of those games.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go off the board here. I think you end up with Detroit getting the second wild card spot. And somehow, some way, I think Seattle sneaks in and gets the 3rd one. They just fly right under the radar. Other teams are beating the hell out of each other, and they end their season with a series against Oakland at home. But I think that's
I get it, but Seattle would be one of the most wildest things. They're 3 games back in the loss column with 4 to play. They have a day off tomorrow, so
everybody would have to.
Yeah, they're 2 games. I mean, 2 games out. I don't think is crazy.
3 in the loss column. 3 in the loss column.
I hear you. I'm just saying that. I think with what Minnesota has to go. Minnesota. We'll have to see how it plays out with Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore looks like they're 5 games out of the division at this point.
4 after tonight. They're beating the crap out.
But they got to play the Yankees again tomorrow. So, if the Yankees win that game, then I think you could see Baltimore mail it in the rest of the season. But, if Baltimore wins that game, they're gonna play the Twins tough. They're gonna keep going until they're eliminated from potentially winning the division there. So, I think with Seattle, you go out, you take care of business. 3 games against the A's, you're going to give yourself a shot. And with Kansas City, I think Atlanta is turning it on. They're going to do what they need to do to get in the playoffs.
All right. Well, I'm definitely not taking Seattle. They're the furthest thing from my opinion. I'm going to go Royals Tigers. I think Minnesota and Seattle are on the outskirts of the playoffs. Charlie, where are you at?
I'm going Royals Tigers as well. Lugo's going to pitch in there somewhere. I think whatever game he pitches, he'll win, and that'll probably pretty much lock them in.
Bill, I don't know how, but I mean, you can, but you can't have the Royals and the Braves making the playoffs. Like, something's got to give there.
Why?
They
In
play
different leagues.
I understand that, but I'm saying that either you think the Royals are going to win games in that series, which will essentially knock the Braves out, or you think the Braves are going to win games in that series to essentially knock the Royals out.
I don't
I
think
said
the Braves can win the whole series and still the Royals.
Yeah. I said the Royals only have to win one, and then on top of that, I'm not under the impression that I don't think the Mets will just go to Milwaukee and walk over Milwaukee either. So I think Atlanta's going to get a little bit of help from there as well. I don't think there's any scenario where they go to Atlanta Monday and both those games don't matter.
I hope it's a 1-game like lead for the Mets or the Braves, and going into those 2 games, that would be epic. And then whoever is down by 1 game, I hope that team loses the first game of the doubleheader. And then game 2 is for all the marbles. You get a real playoff game. I would love that.
Well, that and who's ever planning on getting them in the first round has got to be ecstatic because they're just blowing every. You use everybody available at that point to get in, and yeah, you're gonna have a tired, weary team.
Most likely it's gonna be Milwaukee getting them, because they'll probably be the 6.
Yeah, it's even more reason. It's even more incentive for Milwaukee to play them tough while they're there and make them grind out those games down in Atlanta.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to MLB postseason. Guys, we'll obviously talk about next week. We'll talk about who we think is going to win the World Series. We'll give our full playoff breakdown. But anything that you're looking for in this this closing weekend of this Major League Baseball season?
It's tough because I think all the awards are pretty much locked up. I don't think anything's going to move there. I'd have to really look at the numbers to see if anybody's near like a crazy milestone. But I don't think there is.
Well, I got one that I'm looking for.
The biggest thing is I just hope everybody gets through the weekend healthy and like there's not like that one crazy injury that changes the whole way a team plays. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
For me, what I'm looking for, not looking likely, but Jose Ramirez has a chance to join the 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases club this season. He's at 37 right now. So again, not looking too likely there, but it's been fun to watch him so far, throughout all of this season. And if Aaron Judge wasn't Aaron Judge, we'd be talking about Jose Ramirez in a much different light. And, Shohei took it over the top going 50 and 50, 50 plus at that. But, a 40-40 season for a guy who is on the hometown team is definitely something I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to see.
Can we talk about how insane that's so ridiculous, the 50-50 season for Shohei? We talked about last week a little bit, but that is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there was only 2 guys that I think Bonds and Canseco are the only ones to do 40-40. Or did Acuna get it? I don't remember. I think maybe Acuna did get it.
I think he did.
Remember. Yeah, so there's 3 guys. I mean, the problem is it's and I think Acuna is probably capable of getting to 50-50 with the way he steals bases if he's healthy, but it's the rules make one part of it obviously a lot easier than it used to be. But that being said, it's a nutty number, man. It's really hard to put into words how hard it is, and B, how impressive it is. He's on a different level right now. Like that's what he operates on. He can do everything. I've been on the argument. I know he's a very good pitcher. I think pitching hurts him. I honest to God, I would keep him as a DH. I really would. You look at the last kind of year and a half, how much his average has gone up when he's not pitching. Doesn't have to worry about throwing every 5 days and doing all that stuff. He has his legs in better shape. He's just stole 50 some bases and counting. But it's something. I mean, I'll be honest. You would ask me 15 years ago, I'd be like, nobody's ever going to do 50-50. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's a crazy number. And I mean, here we are. So I mean, it's another accolade to put on his his list of, and it's something that's really cool to that I'm happy that I was able to see. If you're a big baseball guy, to be able to watch that is cool.
I think I know where you guys are at, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. The only MLB award, there's 2 MLB awards, and they're both Rookie of the Years that have odds left to them. Like they have like betting odds. Paul Skeens is a -200 favorite over Jackson Merrill, who's +160, and Luis Heel is a -200 favorite over Colton Cowser, who's a +170 favorite. Do you think either Cowser or Jackson Merrill have a chance to win this award? Skeens is probably going to finish 3rd in NL Cy Young, and he didn't start until June. That's insanity. But it feels bad for Jackson Merrill, who's got 25 home runs, batted .292 on a playoff team, to not win the award. But I don't see how you can give it to anyone but Skeens.
Well, I mean, he had his shot though. I mean, Paul had went on this skid there, and there was a point in time where Skeens was actually plus odds.
Yeah.
So
two weeks ago, Merrill was the favorite.
Yeah, so I mean, he had a shot. So I get what you're saying in theory, but I mean, Paul's come out and he's earned it. So
yeah,
can't be too mad at him for that.
No,
I believe Skeens has 1 start left. And I think he starts Saturday. I think, and we'll see what Merrill does. I mean, somehow the Dodgers win the division, or he has another couple. I mean, I think he's got like 3 or 4 walk-off home runs this year. I mean, I think it's just crazy. It's just bad luck that you have 2 guys that are putting up kind of like record-setting numbers as rookies. Like Gene said, you don't see a lot of rookies come in the league first year, hit 290 with power, almost 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. Like, that's insane. But then you got Skeens, who is just, like Gene said, he's going to finish probably 3rd or 4th in the Cy Young voting, and he missed 2 months of the season because they didn't want to call him up. So both very dominant, very big impacts on their collective teams. Obviously, you would think Merrill will get a little bit of a bump playing for the Padres, and and them kind of being. I mean, they're obviously in the playoffs now. So I still think that one's up for grabs. I think if Merrill has a big closing, last 5 or 6 games, and Skeens doesn't look good his last start, I think there's a shot that flip-flops. It's gone back and forth a lot the last couple of weeks.
All right. We'll talk more MLB action next week. Before we wrap up the show, want to get into the WNBA playoff update. Currently, right now, the Fever and the Sun are tied. Well, the Sun just took a 4-point lead. It was just tied a minute ago. 45-41. Connecticut is up over Indiana in the 3rd quarter. We already have 2 series complete. We have a great matchup in the next round, getting ahead of us. But it's going to be a very Aces Liberty round 2. You're talking about last year's WNBA finals. Already like a little bit of shots fired in the WNBA Twitterverse between Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart. That's fun to watch. They played nice for the Olympics, and as soon as it got into WNBA playoff season, Asia and Stewie are going at it on Twitter. Not anything too disrespectful, but Asia talking about her award and Stewie saying don't matter. We're just here for the championship. It's basically what the tweet said. But I can't wait.
More of those too.
What'd you say?
So Asia's got more of those too.
Stewie's going for this one. I don't know. I think Asia Wilson's obviously the better player, but I just think it's fun to see them talking smack. New York Liberty, best team in the WNBA right now, playing the best together. Aces last year's champions. It's going to be a fun WNBA playoffs. Connecticut Sun wrap it up tonight versus the Fever. And it looks like I think the Lynx will wrap it up versus the Phoenix Mercury. You're going to have Minnesota, Connecticut, the Aces, the Liberty. I'm kind of fired up for.
Did they change their playoff format this year?
I don't think so. I think it's been the same as it's been. They have conferences for scheduling, but they have seeding for playoffs.
Yeah, they have seeding for playoffs. It just looks weird now because typically you have like the Liberty and the Aces are like higher. Like the Aces kind of fell off towards the back half of the year, so they got dropped down to the 4 seed. And Connecticut's just been playing. Connecticut and Minnesota have both been playing out of their minds pretty much, all year long, and with the Liberty holding things steady there. So I understand what you're saying. Like, things like seem very different because of like we're getting these matchups so early, but I mean that's just kind of the way the season rolled out so far. But I'm definitely excited for it. I think obviously it will be great like it was last year, how we had Aces versus Liberty for the championship. But I mean, I think it's good for the WNBA to have a fresh face in there, whether it be Minnesota, who hasn't really been relevant since Maya Moore retired, or Connecticut, who hasn't really been relevant in a long time. So I think this is good for the sport for sure. And this is a matchup here. Liberty have dominated all season, but I don't know if I can count out the Ace. Not even count out, but like I don't know if I can pick against the Las Vegas Aces. Like I talk about in football all the time, like in the playoffs about Patrick Mahomes, not picking against him. I'm not picking against Asia Wilson here. I like the Aces to move on and go to the WNBA finals. And on the other side, I like Connecticut to get it done. I think defense gets them there, and ultimately will get them past Minnesota.
I just say this. They're on the seesaw over there in Connecticut, 49-48 versus Indiana, back and forth. But I think Connecticut's just got so much, man. With Alyssa Thomas, with Mabry, that trade worked out super well for Connecticut. With DeWanna Bonner, like I think Connecticut's just got so much.
Yeah.
Dijonay, it's a great series. But I think the winner of the Liberty versus Aces is your WNBA champion. I think that is the WNBA championship right there. I do want to ask you guys a question. And, if you weren't picking the Liberty or the Aces, Cottrell's going Connecticut, right? If you're not picking the Liberty Aces,
you're Connecticut too.
Connecticut to win it all. If it's not,
yep.
I kind of agree. I think the winner of the Liberty Aces series wins the WNBA finals, but it's been a great season for the W, and give credit where credit's due. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, this rookie class, the injection of life that's been in the WNBA. I will say this: we gotta look. Me and Cottrell don't agree much on a lot of different things, especially when it comes to WNBA action. This overhype of non-foul, actually it was called a foul, with Dejanay Carrington poking Caitlin Clark in the eye and it being intentional. She's not even looking at her. Like, I don't even understand like how this conversation has gotten so much legs. I know Dejanay Carrington brings a lot of it on herself because the way she is, but I just feel like this is super unfair to even be like questioning whether or not she did this dirty. She made the comment about the Indiana Fever fans. And look, let's be very clear. If I want to defend her for a second, I don't think she's always right. I don't. But she made the comment on the back of a person posting a picture of Caitlin Clark's head on the officer that had his knee on George Floyd's neck with Dejanay Carrington's face on George Floyd. That's where the comment stemmed from about the Indiana fans. I don't think the Indiana Fever fans are bad people, but there definitely are bad WNBA fans that have a lot of racism in their heart. And that photo is disgusting. Like, you can't post. That's what she's speaking about. Like, listen, Dejanay Carrington has made a lot of mistakes in the WNBA. She's very active. But I didn't call it a mistake. She's a passionate player. Like, we give, in men's sports, we'll constantly talk about someone being passionate or competitive, and it's a thing. We just talk about, Jalen Carter all week, about him being passionate and talking smack to the other side. And it's like, oh, we love that on our team. They're in a war. They're warriors. But when Dejanay Carrington does it on the court, it's, she's extra. She's too much. Now, I don't care what anyone has to say. That photo that she subtweeted, how disgusting it was a disgusting photo. You can't, like, that's what she's commenting on. Now, to Indiana Fever's fans' defense, that's not all fans. Not all fans have that scumbag in them. And if you walk down that Twitter rabbit hole, you're going to find shitty stuff, no matter who you're a fan of. Control, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I just think it's been kind of where we've been at throughout the season so far. Granted, I do think that people have been giving fair criticism, like regarding like this whole situation around Caitlin. I think some of it's been unfair, but I mean, I think this is one of those situations where if you watch the play, it's a basketball play. Yeah. I think if it wasn't Caitlin Clark on the other side of it, this isn't something that we'd be talking about. It kind of just would have got swept under the rug and just would have been a foul in the game, and we just kept it moving there. I don't think it was anything intentional there. I do think their history kind of plays a part in this, because if you remember way back when, the Connecticut Sun, they were very adamant about how they played defense on Caitlin the first matchup around. And, they talked about it afterwards. And I told you guys on this show, I was like, hey, I understand that, it seems like DiJonai is kind of being an asshole here, but that's who she is. That's who she's going to be all season, no matter who's on the opposite side of the court from her, whether it be Caitlin Clark or it be another rookie like Rakia Jackson. Like, it doesn't matter who's in front of her. That's who she's going to be on social media, in person, things like that. So it's cool. I'll say it's cool to see like the people who are like actually starting to follow W and like realize like, oh, well, DiJonai Carrington, like that's who she is. Kennedy Carter, you may not like her. You may like her, may call her a dirty player, but you realize now like that's who she is. Like that's what she does. Same thing with NFL guys like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like, you may not like him. That's who he is. He doesn't care who's on the other side. He's going to always be unapologetically him. So it's cool to see like people starting to realize that with the W, but you're 100% right there. I mean, there's on social media, at least, there is some root of racism in what goes on here when certain things happen and things like that. There's no place for it. But the nice thing is that Caitlin has done a phenomenal job of bringing attention to the WNBA. I mean, her playoff game last week, they talked about it being as the most watched playoff game since 2001 in WNBA. That's what you have to look forward to. And now we're going to get a second round matchup with last year's WNBA champions and the runner up. So the attention that's being brought to the game is good. I think the W just needs to do a better job of capitalizing on that attention that they have now.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, I almost think, with the picture and everything, I almost think we're being a little bit like too light on it, to be honest. I mean, it's repulsive. It's disgusting. Yeah, I mean, you're 100%. Talking about an event that completely divided this country and deepened the divide that was already there. A man lost his life. That is, again, I'm not going to put all, the Fever's fans in one bucket. It's obviously just one, horribly racist individual. I mean, I don't know how, I don't know how you could say you're not racist if you make something like that. I mean, that would be a really hard sell for me. So, I mean, if anything, I think, we're kind of underselling that a little bit. And I think she had every right in the world to respond to that any way she wanted to be quite honest. And I think she probably, knowing how she is, like we've just talked about for the last couple of minutes, and how she does, who she is and how she does react to certain things. I think certain people got off light on that too, if I'm being honest. So I don't have any problem with the response. I obviously have a huge problem with the picture. I just really wish there was a way to find out, who made it and who did all that. And I'm sure the Twitter, person is not somebody's real name, and
it's not just the part that I think DiJonai did wrong was she didn't single out people are disgusting. She said Fever fans are disgusting. You're kind of putting them all into one bucket where
I mean,
a lot of Fever fans are disgusted by that too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if you talk to, per person, I think if you went to any Indiana Fever fan, they were like, this is way above and beyond, what it should be. And it's disgusting. So, it's just another instance of where racism just, raises its ugly head in sports. But I mean, it's just, it's just something we have to continue to, just try to be better. And some people just have a really hard time doing that. But, it's again, it's unfortunate because you're looking at, like you guys said, like Caitlin's playoff debut, playing against a really good team. And the focus should be on that and not on people tweeting racist photos. And that's, you're talking, we're coming to the culmination of, probably numbers wise, however you want to slice it, the most successful year in the WNBA's history.
100%. There's no anywhere to slice it.
And that's what we should be focused on. Like you said, the rookie class of Caitlin and Angel, even Kevin Brink before she got hurt. And there's just so many positives to take from the season and so many things that they're doing better and moving forward and generating more money for these women. And just so many good things. And we're talking about this. And that's what's awesome.
Well, we're just revamping that up. That was like 3 weeks ago. But I do want to kind of end here because we got to get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Cottrell, I gave you your roses earlier. Told you 100% that you're right about some of the coverage with Caitlin Clark. I'm looking for mine right now.
Well, what?
Caitlin Clark finished top 5 in MVP voting, which I said was going to happen before the season started.
I said she'd finish top 10.
That's different.
I said she'd finish top 5 and she'd have MVP consideration. I said she wouldn't win it, but she'd have MVP votes. Not number 1, but she got number 4s, number 5s, and number 3s. I need my roses, brother. Hand them over.
Who finished second behind Asia?
That was
Nafisa
Collier, 100%. And then Brianna Stewart third,
Stewie.
Caitlin Clark 4th, and then Alyssa Thomas 5. What? And that Connecticut Sun team has 3 to 4 players that could be all WNBA players. Like
they're very good.
But let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me.
All right, so mine this week is one that Bill kind of touched on a little bit earlier. I'm going with UNLV's situation with their starting quarterback, Matthew Sloka, announcing that he's going to redshirt this year and no longer play football at the University of Las Vegas. Like, I think that's absolutely insane to do that. This is a UNLV team that was, at this point in the year, considered one of the favorites to represent, the non-power Power 4 schools in the college football playoff. They're undefeated right now. And, they have a huge game this week that's probably going to loom large in who the committee decides to put in that college football playoff spot against Fresno State this week. And it comes out that, well, on his end, he's saying that UNLV promised me when I hit the portal that I was going to basically get this money from them. And it's come out as in reports saying $100,000, and they're going to give me this money upon me deciding to sign on the dotted line and play football there, which in itself is a problem. That's not the nature of NIL and all that. But then on the flip side of it, you got UNLV coming out saying that we fulfilled all of our financial requirements here. We've given him everything that we've promised, and ultimately he's got represented by an agent after we had a successful start to the year, and now he wants more money, and we're not in the business of doing that. So you already have a huge issue there. But I think, in my opinion, I'm leaning now towards the side of this being on UNLV because a second player from UNLV has announced that he will also redshirt and no longer play for the rest of the season. Their second string running back, Michael Allen, who was second in carries on this team, has decided he's no longer playing for them as well. So there was something that UNLV had to have been telling these kids, because I don't think they're just going to stop playing football out of nowhere. I get it. Matthew, he might have been greedy. I can concede that one. But when the second kid comes out, when he's the backup running back, and he's basically saying, hey, we're sticking together on this one because they did the same shit to me, you got a problem here on both sides. So regardless of whose actual fault it is, the NCAA needs to step in. You can't have guys taking basically a holdout because they want more money in college football terms. And on the flip side of it, you can't have these schools out here promising things just to get kids to come to their school so they have a chance to be a good football team. So this week for me, the UNLV, Matt Sluka, Michael Allen situation, that's all going on with this NIL mess.
Kidding me.
And where is the NCAA, I ask you? I don't know.
Oh, where did it go?
I don't know.
I haven't said a word.
Investing somebody somewhere for doing something way less worse than that, I'm sure. That's for I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates this week. Going with Rowdy Tellez. Had 421 plate appearances. Had a $200K bonus kick in if he gets to 425. They set him down on Monday. They DFA'd him, didn't get picked. So he either can pretty much walk and sign with whoever or report to the minors for the last week, which nobody in the right mind is going to do. So you want to know why Pittsburgh continues to be bad over and over and over again? When you look at the people like, hey, they drafted Garrett Cole. They've just drafted Paul Skeens. They've drafted all these other a bunch of really good players that stay there for a couple of years and leave. This is why. The ownership's cheap. This isn't a bonus kicker that kicked in and was like, hey, we got to pay this guy $2 million and he hasn't played well this year. It's $200,000. It's $200,000 to a Major League Baseball team. That is like the owner of the Major League Baseball team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, picking up like a quarter off the ground. That's what it is. And they decided not to pay him. They DFA'd him, so they avoided the bonus. It's crap. It's Bush League. There are a couple guys from the front office of anonymously commented, well, he hasn't played that great. Well, you know what? He was playing well enough for you that if he had 425 plate appearances, you couldn't have been that upset with him all year. And then it gets to the time to pay the guy $200,000. You're going to DFA him and release him. It's junk. It's crap. It's trash. That's why I never feel bad about the Pirates sucking, even though they have the prettiest stadium in all of Major League Baseball. Paul Skeens will be out of there in 3 or 4 years as well because they're not going to pay him. It's just. I feel bad for their fans. Pittsburgh has great fans. Fans show for the Pirate or for the Steelers. They have crazy fans. Steelers are one of the best fan bases in the NFL. They show for the Penguins. Same thing. They don't show for the Pirates. I wonder why that is. I wonder what the different thing is between those three franchises. So for me this week, Pittsburgh being cheap asses.
Kidding me.
I will no longer post my "you got to be kidding me" in our chat if they're not going to be read.
I'm busy.
I know. I posted
doing that too.
Yeah, I know. I'll do the other one. That's fine.
Yes.
I said this was the one I'm going to do instead. But Saquon Barkley was recently on the Dan Patrick Show. On the Dan Patrick Show, he was asked about the situation that happened. Now, listen, we all talked about this situation that happened with the New York Giants general manager, Joe Schoen, and Saquon Barkley and the phone call. The part that blows my mind is this. Would you not think to let that man know that phone call was being recorded? Did you know that Saquon Barkley did not know that phone call was being recorded until he's seen the preview of Hard Knocks? That is absolutely insane that HBO and the New York Giants recorded a phone call with Saquon Barkley telling him, and sounding like assholes, and then giving it to Hard Knocks, approving the phone call without Saquon Barkley signing off on the phone call. He had no idea that they recorded the phone call and gave it to Hard Knocks. He found out by watching a preview of Hard Knocks. This shows once again why no free agent player should ever sign with the New York Giants and why their organization is an absolute dumpster fire. Saquon Barkley said, as nice as can be on Dan Patrick's show, he said that Dan Patrick said, what really killed me was he said, go out there and find out what you're worth and then come back and see me. He goes, would you ever do that to your wife or a woman? He's like, you would never do it. He's like, Saquon Barkley just looked at him and goes, stop speaking. You're speaking a lot of facts. Sounds very realistic, what you're saying. Handled himself like a true professional once again. However, at the New York Giants, when you think that Joe Schoen can't get any worse, he does one more.
kidding me?
How the hell's that happen? How do you record that phone call and not let him know it's being recorded?
I think he probably didn't have to because he wasn't technically under contract. So he's not technically under contract with NFL Films at that point since he's not on the roster. But again, if you're Joe Schoen, you'd be like, hey, like, I know we're talking. Just
We're doing hard knocks.
You're on Hard Knocks. So, I mean, just be careful what you say.
Well, you know they wouldn't say that because if he leaves, then it's like, all right, well, they're going to hear this portion of it, and I won't look like the asshole here. And
no, but I think you mean like
Barkley.
you think you mean like when I say that, I mean like, hey, don't say anything like don't curse if you don't have to or like something like that. Like I'm not saying like he was going to say something crazy, but this gets back to my whole point about it before. If you're an NFL player and you know almost all those guys watch that show. If you're watching that show, you're never going there. You're not. Like you're telling your agent, be like, bro, I don't care where I go. I'm not going to play for the New York Giants if that guy's the GM. I'm not going there. Like, I don't care if they offer me more money. Like, don't even talk to the Giants. I'm not going there. I've never seen anybody do more disservice for their job and for their team than what that guy did in Hard Knocks this year.
Facts.
By the way, I just want to bring this up, Jen. This is like could have been. You got to be kidding me. I'm not saying it was or it is. I think it's kind of weird that Melissa Smith is basically at a -12 in 4 minutes for the Indiana Fever when her girlfriend Dejanay Carrington plays for the Connecticut Sun. That's the wild stuff that happens in W. She's been sat since the first 4 minutes of the game. Started the game and was sat. So -12, 4 minutes in. I don't know. Comes off weird.
It's an interesting predicament that is very unique to that league.
Yeah.
Why does it come off weird, Gene?
Because she's come on, bro. Like, do I need to say the obvious?
No, yes.
Okay, the obvious
No.
is she's been in the media multiple times talking about how Dejanay Carrington's had an issue with Caitlin Clark. She's been in the media multiple times talking about the coverage of Indiana, about her playing time. She said something on Twitter about Dejanay Carrington made a post about, look what happens when you give my girl Melissa some playing time. And then she subtweets the comment and goes, that didn't last very long, like when they didn't give her the ball. She's been critical of the Indiana Fever. She goes home after game 1 with Dejanay Carrington to stay in the same house during a playoff series. And then she's played a total of 13 minutes with a -19 in the series. You don't think that's like she's not giving her all? She's counting her time to get out of there? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, and I'm putting it out there.
All right. I mean, that's fair. Would you say lack of playing time would be it sounded like you were alluding to like because they're together, like that's why that's happened. And
yes, I think she's throwing basketball games.
See, I can't get behind that. These players have relationships. They've been having relationships with each other for forever. Now they're throwing basketball games because Caitlin's losing. Like I'm not getting behind it.
Caitlin, I don't care about Caitlin. If this was Phoenix versus Minnesota, I'd have the same thought process. Doesn't have to go back to Caitlin, bro.
I'm just saying I've never heard you talk about in the history of the show two people who date each other in the league because there's
the rivalry between the team and through social media and the fact that she subtweeted a comment about her playing time and about her getting the ball. And then she goes into the series versus her fiance or her girlfriend, and she's had the worst postseason out of anyone, plus minus. You don't think there's any bit suspicious there?
Why hasn't she been playing?
Because she had a -12 in 4 minutes. Like, I don't know.
So you're saying?
It's enough to at least ask the question.
I'm asking. So you're telling me that she doesn't get playing. Essentially, you're saying she doesn't get playing time because she's not that good of a player. Is what it sounds like. That's what my assumptions are here. So she's not getting much playing time.
Not what he said. She's.
Why isn't she getting playing time? Why hasn't before the playoffs started? Why wasn't she getting playing time?
She was getting playing time though.
His point is since this series has started, she's been atrocious out of nowhere. Is his point?
She started 37 out of 40 games, but she's not playing in the playoffs.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying. She started 37 out of 40 games for them. She averaged 10.5 points a game. She's got 0 points in the playoffs. So I'm sorry.
Hey.
And by the way, I just got yelled at by Dart because Shally needs to yell at other people. So anybody have any final comments?
No, I have none.
Nothing.
I mean, you gotta think about that. All right.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Coincidence, maybe.
It's a weird coincidence.
No, not that. I'm just saying. Indiana starts losing the playoff series, and now we're talking about players on their team throwing games. That's
Bro, I told you they're going to lose tonight. They're down 5 in the fourth quarter. He still could win the game because their backup center has played the entire game. All right. Any final comments?
None.
It's a fun ending conversation. But thank you guys for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. I do want to wish a special, listen, anybody listening to the show, if you can, and Shally, if you can post or tell us where we can watch you guys and support you guys for this weekend. We're rooting for the guys from PA that are down at Worlds. Root for them. A bunch of great guys down there. Bose, Caraba, the Romans, Dart, Shally, Billy Brancato. I'm sure I'm missing 4 or 5 that I know. I hope you guys have an incredible run in this tournament. Have fun. Enjoy the time down there. Shally, tell us where we can support.
I will post the link. It's a USSSA live link. We are on White Rawlings tomorrow. That's the name of the field. I'll post it on Facebook. I'll post it in the chats and stuff like that. So if you want to log on and watch,
what time?
We start at 9. We're first game tomorrow morning. So the support is always appreciated. And boys, we're gonna go out and play. Boys are loose, they're ready to go. So I think we're gonna do well tomorrow morning. So I'm very optimistic about the way we've been playing and everybody's kind of mindset. Everybody's locked in and ready to go. So I'm excited.
We'll go handle business tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in to Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. Kick ass tomorrow. Thank you. I'm the NFL genius, Sheen Walzak. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell. Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, and just for this weekend, we'll call him Coach. We are signing out.